when they are consuming your minds and your thoughts and your dreams, from the angels to the demons and to the mysteries unseen, there is no need to worry. There is no need for dread. It's just time to discuss the thing at the foot of the bed.
Welcome to Negotiating Happiness, the show that helps you find happiness, success, and balance in your work and life. I'm Adriana Fiestra, your host for this journey into entrepreneurship and personal growth. We're broadcasting live on 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Hi, I'm Brittany Ashley, your host of Breaking Norms, Building Dreams, your guide through this transformative journey in both business and life. This is your place crafted for dreamers, doers, or anyone who has been told they can't. Get ready as we challenge those narratives together. You're tuning in live to the United Public Radio Network, airing on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in
sweet silver bells, all seem to say throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, meek and the bold. Ding dong, that is the song, with joyful ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they bound, raising the sound, all in the dance, telling us seem to say Christmas is here, bringing the cheer to young and old, meek and the bold. Ding dong, that is the song, with joyful ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they pound, raising the sound, all in a dance, and in a tent. Hey, while people sing songs of good cheer, Christmas is here. Hey, while people sing songs of good cheer, Christmas is here. All seem to say Christmas is here, bringing good cheer. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they pound, raising the sound, joy in a dance, telling us hey, while people sing songs of good cheer, Christmas is here. Hey, while people sing songs of good cheer, Christmas is here. All seem to say Christmas is here, bringing good cheer. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they pound, raising the sound, joy in a dance, telling us hey, while people sing songs of good cheer, Christmas is here. Hey, while people sing songs of good cheer, Christmas is here. Merry, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. All of this and more, we are telling to everyone. Hark how the bells all seem to say ding dong, that is their song.
You played that last year too. I love that performance.
It's one of my favorites. It's Carol of Bells all the way around is one of my favorites. Sorry, I got to get one of them out of here. It's
You
always
got some
nice to
hits.
hear.
You got some static.
I don't know what that's about. Shouldn't hear it. Yeah.
There.
It's good. Maybe
Now it's back on again.
It's hanging the mic somewhere. Did that help any?
Yeah.
I'll leave it like that. Maybe it's that cord might be getting old. It's been hanging up there for a year or two now. These earbuds, believe it or not, actually hold up pretty well. I've been surprised. I tried using my wireless, but my house has too much steel in it. It causes weird interference.
Got it.
And I found it out the hard way. I went to go drill to put in a set of blinds one afternoon, actually a curtain rod. And man, my drill, and I got all professional equipment for, so I do it for a living. I'm like, woo, what the hell is this? I went out and got a steel bit, steel. I'm like, what the hell? Come to find out they use tire irons. So they took the train rail, and then they took a tire iron like you see in a building, one of the big wide ones, and locked them together and then put the house back together. That's why it's survived Katrina.
Wow.
And I was like, well, hey, there's some shuckings. So I gotta know. I actually gotta put my blinds down so far now. It's kind of funny. And then the floor itself is 9 inches thick, not including the new floor that I put on just recently. So it's definitely built not to move around much, even though it does.
Yeah, there's still a very slight hum still.
I wonder what the hell it is. It's got to be
There.
something.
Now it's back.
It's got to be something to do with this cord thing.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
All right, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the cord.
Yeah.
See, I think that's what it is. It's plugged in. I'll have to find another. I don't have an ear set out here. I'd use one of them. I'm sure.
Sounds good now.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Authors Quill. I hope y'all enjoyed the intro. And Quinn, you noticed, you're probably the only person that noticed that it was all new promos tonight for different shows. We have a lot of shows on the network, and sometimes, and I've been fiddling with them to see which ones are more appropriate for different shows. Like you did hear, the foot at the end of the bed came on tonight, and then what is it? Negotiating Happiness, which is just a show about how to make yourself happy, how to change your life, how to do positive, good things. And of course, it was Fika's show, which she's book chat. She's like this show. That's what she does. She invites authors on and chats with authors. So, but she's on Thursday. I told her she needs to be on Saturday with us.
Yeah.
So, and then Breaking Norms is just what it's about, breaking norms and how to make money and stuff like that. Yeah, Sean, what do you mean you didn't know we had those kind of shows on the network? Well, why don't you go look at the page with all the shows on it? Matter of fact, I think Michelle said 5 new shows I got to go add to the page. Because she's always adding things. She believes in ebb and flow, my friend. That's all I can say. She likes to ebb and the flow. Yeah, she always keeps a good amount of shows moving and coming. Well, we have lots of time, Well, most of our prime time, all of our evening prime time is filled, but we still have prime time slots in daytime, like drive time in the morning, some few lunchtime slots, very few evening drive time slots. Yeah, because the 3 to 5 p.m. or 3 to 6 p.m. is as good as say 6 to 9. It's just as good a spot, if not better sometimes. Well, you have a captive audience, my friend, especially if they like me that have an hour and a half drive. Yes. Well, yes, Marcia. John was with us the boys last night. Leah is out on vacation for a week or two. Yes. Well, she wouldn't be on this show anyway, but she's out on vacation from last night. You would have to ask her why she's on vacation. I do not discuss people's personal events. No, John was with us last night. No, he was not talking politics. Stop that. He was on with us talking about the Los Angeles Christmas parade, which looks like it's pretty cool. He was telling us all the different things. I thought poor Jay was going to have a heart attack when he got to talking about cars.
Yeah.
Jay's a geek and a half. He can't help himself. You might as well call him Jay Leno Jr., man. He's Jay Leno without the money. He's definitely in a car aficionado. He can't help himself. And Mike and them all, because they have it's different for them. Michael, he's from lives in northern New York. He's an upstate New York kind of guy. He lived a lot in the city too, but he prefers upstate New York. So he's got a different temperament. Sean and Jay are both from Pennsylvania, but Jay was actually raised in Georgia. He's kind of a Georgian, Pennsylvania, whatever the hell that is. And y'all know where I'm from. I'm just down here in the bayou, and John's from out in L.A. Well, from California anyway. We won't always blame him for living in L.A. I don't know how he does it. I mean, L.A. One thing about LA, it keeps you fit. I will give you that because it's just easier to walk to get lunch and to get dinner and to go, especially where they're at. It just seems a lot of the places it's just easier to walk. I'm sure there's places you need to get in the car and drive, but um, what do you mean? I didn't find it that big of a hassle moving around LA, but I didn't get caught in any traffic.
Traffic is it gets bad. It definitely
Yeah,
gets bad. If I didn't have my job here, I gotta tell you, I wouldn't be here. I'm located right where I am right now. I'm on Hollywood Boulevard. I'm a block away from the Chinese Theater and from the Dolby where they have the Oscars. And every time there's a premiere, the Spartacus, is that the one that just came out?
yeah, I think
Spartacus
so.
2. That the premiere was there right next to us at the Chinese Theater. And the front of the Chinese Theater has the full Coliseum still built in front of it that they did for the premiere. So, I mean, it's cool, but there's just so many people. And now Hollywood Boulevard is shut down as they're setting up all the bleachers and getting all the everything prepared for tomorrow's Christmas parade.
They see we need to teach y'all how to do this. We don't shut down any major thoroughfares when we're setting up bleachers and stuff. And we just because it angers too many people in the South if they can't get to where they're going. So they've derived ways now of how the people who put the stands together are really good at what they do now. And I've seen them out there working in the rain putting them damn things together. But they'll block up one lane on one side and they'll do that whole side, and then they'll go switch to the other side, block one lane and do the whole side. And sometimes they don't even block the lane. Sometimes they get everything up on the sidewalks and stuff. Or depending on what areas you are, because some areas you have area to set up more than one stand and stuff. They built a little park in between two of the highways now so that they can, like have the officials come there and talk and say their spew. And it's kind of weird. And of course, downtown New Orleans, they just do it right smack in the middle of the city, which is 6 lanes on each side of just a little street called Canal. No, it's not a highway. It's a street that runs from the lake to the river. Yes, that's what it is. It's a famous street. It's still a street. They do Christmas parades down here. They were just talking about the Christmas parade in Biloxi the other day, but yeah, it's not the same as a Los Angeles Christmas parade. I mean, you ain't gonna have all the glitz and glitter that they're gonna have it there. John gets to hobnob with the rich and famous, and get to see all the cool cars that we were talking about.
And I get to take out all the trash from the bathrooms from all those cool and famous
yes,
people.
we was talking about yes, but that's not your job. That's some lowly clerk's job somewhere. Oh, yeah. I know who's. Oh no, I'm not going to say that out loud because I'll get in trouble. I was going to say I know whose job it is, but she would get very violent with me. So, I'm not going to get on her bad side. I stay in enough trouble as it is. Denise, no. So Denise, Arthur Services, where John's office is, which is a really beautiful office. At least all the parts I've been in so far. And I've been not all over the whole building, but I've been in good different parts of it. Anyway, it's the starting point for the parade. It's the green room basically. If y'all know what a green room is, that's what it basically is. So all the stars, everybody who's anybody who's doing anything in the parade, that's where they're going to start from. And that's what we were talking about last night. That's why Jay was going so crazy about the cars that were there. He's got a fixation on that Batman car, John. I mean,
yeah.
I thought that might be his new girlfriend.
So the cars, this is the parade lineup here that I'm reading, and so the cars are the 1966 Batmobile, the Green Hornet Black Beauty, Gotham SWAT, Mad Max Interceptor, Mad Max Wasteland Group, Jurassic Park Jeep, the Jurassic Park Explorer, Pennywise, Bluesmobile, General Lee, Roscoe Police, James Bond Thunderball, Highway Patrol, the Kit Car, Miami Vice, Daytona Ferrari, Herbie, NASCAR Herbie, Starsky and Hutch Torino, Dusk Till Dawn, Bandit, Lightning McQueen, Tow Matter, the Superbird Cars, Pizza Planet, Ecto, the Ectomobile, the Bumblebee Transformers, Fast and Furious, the 2018 Dodge Demon Charger, the Pontiac Fiero, the original car. So we got some really cool cars that's going to be there that anybody that's a car aficionado from all the movies, they're just going to be like, wow. I mean, we're in Hollywood, so there's a lot of those, the movie cars that are here.
Yeah, I imagine they are. I was thinking, what car they needed? What was that stupid sci-fi 3 or 4 years long. It was based out of New St. Louis or whatever they called it. It was named after the town. Was the name of the series? Oh man,
I don't know.
this one I need a geek here. I can't remember the movie. It was not Destiny. It was anyway. It's gonna drive me crazy talking about it. But so anyway, John gets to hang out with all these people. They do a little dancing with these fine women all over the place because he keeps Emily busy. She don't know what the hell he's doing. So
Joe,
he'd be dancing a
Joe,
lot, dancing
Joe.
a lot.
I'm not going to be defending you when you come out here in April. It's going to be,
No,
I'm going to
love
walk
you,
out the
man.
door to,
You know I
I'm going
love
to
you.
get a glass of water and just gently close the door behind me with you and Emily.
Uh, what's that, Christopher? No, Emily. No, Emily is a really nice woman. Very intelligent. She's all around a good person. Really is. She puts up with my ass all the time. That's actually his other half. Yes, that's why I give her so much trouble. Oh no, compared to like Sarah and Maliva, she's a sweetheart, man. Them other two, whoo, man. No, I like
Okay,
to live dangerous.
Joe.
I like to live dangerous. What do you mean? Who's my favorite person? John's my favorite person by far. I love everybody out there. They know that. I tell them that every time I see them. Now, really and truly, I do. Actually, I really do. I always have a good time, and you get to meet so many interesting people and get to see so much stuff. One of these days, I'm gonna get to catch this LA parade. What is that, Frankie? Well, no, you're in LA. Well, you just walk down the street and
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean you got a condo in Hollywood? Well, where are you at? How stinking rich are you, man? Wait, you need to make a donation to the network if you're that stinking rich. Yes, uprntalkradio.com, big yellow button up there. No, really, where you are. Well, you know what? Next, I don't know.
The parade is between La Brea and the actual parade kicks off at Orange in Hollywood. And then between Orange and Highland, it's a red carpet on Hollywood Boulevard. All the bleachers are up right now. And because I was just right by the Hard Rock Cafe this morning, they're supplying a bunch of desserts and stuff like that. In-N-Out is catering it for all the celebrities, which is it's just really funny because everybody, when the celebs come, they're like, no, I'm gluten-free, I'm this free, and I'm that full, and all that kind of stuff. And I used to get all types. We'd have sushi chefs come and serve, and we'd have all kinds of people with all fancy foods. One year, a few years ago, about 4 years ago, we ran out. Said, quick, we need something. So we sent somebody down and said, here, get 50 burgers at In-N-Out, because there's an In-N-Out about, I don't know, like 4 or 5 blocks away from us. So they came back with it, and all of a sudden, it was like all these gluten-free and this free and that free people just went, In-N-Out. Boom. They just were totally all over it. And so we had to go out and get another 100, 150 with that In-N-Out, and then another 50 is a little bit about a couple miles away, and brought those back. And so thus began our love affair with In-N-Out. So they've catered, this will be the 3rd year they've catered the Hollywood Christmas parade with their burgers, their cheeseburgers. They bring a huge tractor trailer, park on the side of our street in front of us, and set up shop, and they service all the celebrities there, and so that's just really funny how everybody changes once they realize that there's In-N-Out there. But we have all kinds of great food. Lots of high-end restaurants donate their thises and their that's, and so it's a very, very amazingly fun event. But the whole side of our building, which is on Sycamore, is the side of our building, is shut down, and that's where the set and repeat is for all the actors. So it's 160 feet long. There'll be about 200 media there lined up. It's just a massive crowd of media, from network television to all the entertainment media, and then all the local radio, TV, and print, and just people are just constantly just being interviewed. We have Jeremy Renner this year as our Grand Marshal, and Mario Lopez is receiving a special award. And then there's lots of actors. Some of the people, I'll just read some of the people that are in it. There's one thing that's really cool is we've got the Pantages, because the Wicked is playing at the Pantages Theater in Hollywood. So the cast of Wicked is performing on in front of the stage there on Hollywood Boulevard. So we're excited about that. And then one of the LA Dodger pitchers, Landon Knock, is going to be there, and then AC Green and Michael Cooper from the LA Lakers, their legends, are going to be there as well, participating. We have Lou Ferrigno. He used to be the Hulk, and I think he came in second on Miss Universe behind Arnold Schwarzenegger. But he's definitely a big, he's still an amazing man. Then we've got, let's see, Clay Aiken, the musician, country western. He's going to be there, and he's going to be performing. And we've also got Denise Richards. She was a Bond girl in the '90s, and then she was the star of Starship Troopers. And then then she's been also in several other TV series that she's been the star of. And then, the thing I've got is I don't watch TV. I read books. I got my podcast. I'm always reading a book. Whenever I'm not working, I'm reading a book or listening to an audiobook. So I don't watch television. So I'm going to have
not much to watch anyway.
What's that?
Not much to watch. Even though there's 5,000 channels, there's still not much to watch. It's mostly just garbage after garbage. It's garbage in, garbage out, garbage in. What's that, James? What do you mean? What are you talking about, Hollywood? That's for a different show, my friend. Yes, bring it a Friday night show. Or you know what? We may have a chat coming up in the next couple of days. You can bring it up on one of those shows. Not here though. No, it's not. It's just not what it's for. What do you mean? I don't think John has a favorite author. We've been asked this question many times since this show started, and I don't know if I could just single out one individual author. Or even one individual actor for that matter. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I like, and a lot of it I like equally. So I don't.
Well, one author I will say is my favorite author because I publish all of his books is Owen Hubbard. I love
that. Don't count though. That's cheating. That don't count.
I mean, he's the one that provides my livelihood. I sell just billions of his books. We've sold millions.
He's got a lot of
good
books, guys.
And that's how I ended up participating in the Hollywood Christmas Parade in the first place. We released the Stories from the Golden Age in 2008. And that's when we first got involved with the parade. We got a float that we created. We hired the company that Disney used, Walt Disney, for Disneyland, and they made a float for us, which back then, we still paid like $80,000 for the float, like for one day. It's like, oh my God, the amount of money that goes into it's sinful.
It's crazy, yeah, I know.
So then when Associated Television took over the parade a few years later, the owner said big balloons are way better on television because we're turning this into a TV broadcast special. I said, okay. So then we had a balloon made. So it's 5 stories tall, and it's the pirate from Under the Black Ensign, one of our books that we published then. And so that's been the feature of our foot in the door for the parade for the last, I guess 14 years that we've been host. And then we have people come, all the actors and celebrities come in here, and I've met some amazing people over the years. But everybody can see they see the Owen Hubbard Library, they see the books, they go, I had no idea you wrote this. So whatever any book that they're interested in, we say, here, it's a gift, Merry Christmas. And that's been a good thing on that. And because of our proximity to the head of the parade, it's been a good relationship with Associated Television. So we've continued to do that. And then I invite the political people to come, and we've had several politicians come to be in the parade. But it's been for us, it's a good thing. I do that like I said, to promote our books. That's how I got it started. And that was my initial desire. But it's also part of I'm really into community activity. I like doing things that's going to support and help the community.
It's always a good thing to do.
Yeah. So that's why we do it. And Emily, I mean, what she does is just amazing. She organizes up 200-300 people as volunteers. And now she's running around there. We're, putting up all the signage and getting everything ready and getting all the this and that's put together, because tomorrow it's amazing. All this preparation goes into it. And then tomorrow night, by about 10 o'clock or so, everybody's gone. And then we're going to be up until however late at night cleaning up, because tomorrow
Yeah.
afternoon the building's got to be open again for business. So it's
Y'all
we
should
do
give
all types
yourself
of
a day off. Too bad
what?
it didn't. Too bad it didn't fall like on a Friday. Then you could give yourself the weekend off.
Oh
But,
yeah, right. Dream on. And
yes,
then
man,
so
you gotta take some
Monday,
time off.
thank you. So then on Monday we finished, all the debriefs and write ups and all the photo albums and stuff like that. We have it, and then Tuesday, she's taken off for Las Vegas with Sarah for the Cowboy Christmas. So that's a Western show. I used to go to it, but I'm staying here because I've got other events I'm putting together that I'm working on. So she'll be gone for 10 days for that. It's a huge show, but she'll sell like 1,500 books between her and Sarah. Westerns, the Hubbard Westerns, which are really popular there. And then she comes back, and then we'll have our big, Christmas, and we have various Christmas parties that we'll be attending, and then the Christmas, and then our New Year's celebration. But for the office parties, Emily and I are putting those together and organizing those up, and then and I still have to keep going. The podcasts, just
Yeah, there's always
a
something
book
to do.
book a week is pretty much what I have to read.
Charlene, what? You're in Vegas, right? Oh no, I know where you are. And let me remember. My brain. I used to go at Laughlin because I used to go up there and do lectures. Yes, at the Pink Flamingo when it used to be there. It turned into a different hotel. Well, I know Laughlin's not that far out. Was it like an hour? I think. I'll
Yeah,
ask him.
it's at the convention center, Las Vegas Convention Center. It's huge. There's like there's stats like 1.5 million people attend that thing. It's the big rodeo that takes place concurrent with that.
So she's like, wait, when is it? Oh, you just want to go to see the Cowboys? Oh, you want to see the Cowboys and buy a book? I'm not believing that. No, girl. I think you just want to go see the Cowboys. That does not count. Well, if you're going to go, you might as well go buy a book while you're down there.
Exactly.
Yes. So support the people. Say hi to Sarah and Emily. What's that, George? No, I know you live in Vegas. I know you and your friend Marco, but both of y'all live in Vegas. Yeah. It's Vegas I've been to Vegas many times. It's just it's different for me. Okay. I live on the Gulf Coast, which has brand new stinking casinos with gambling floors like 4 times the size of the ones in Vegas. Yes. So when I was young, I went to Vegas, and then when I was in the service, I went to Vegas. And then I came home, and then I hadn't been to Vegas until after they had built the casinos up here. Well, when they built the Grand Casino, it was 3 barges long, 2 barges wide, and the whole entire floor was casino. I mean, it was games. They had three floors of this. There's nothing like that in Vegas anywhere. Not even the closest one to big casino in Vegas is the Orleans, and it's huge. It's got about a 15,000 square foot gambling floor. But in general, no, like the Lexar and MGM, their floors are much smaller.
But what they have is they have the other shows. They're really big on
they have the
entertainment
shows
there in Las Vegas. Emily and I went there a couple of months ago, and after the Salt Lake City Fan X, we went to Vegas and spent a couple of days with my sister, and we went to see and that was just amazing. That was just that whole stage where it's performed, because it goes up like the performers there, because there's a Cirque du Soleil show, and it goes up a couple hundred feet. It's just massive, that whole stage, and the whole that fills with water on the bottom, and then it drains out of water, then back up again, and it's just like what these guys do. It's transforming.
Vegas there's a lot of cool stuff in Vegas. There really is. Well, a lot of times, John, when we, Christopher, a lot of times we fly into Vegas and drive to other places. Mm-hmm. Like what is it? Something Springs and something in Utah. It's about an hour and a half drive, but it's easier just to drive there than to take a puddle jumper and get there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going to Roswell. Sometimes it's just easier to drive there than it is to get a plane in. What's that? Yeah, it's a big Western rodeo, and they'll be there selling books for 10 days. Go in and say hi to everybody.
Yeah,
Listen,
Galaxy Press, and if you look you'll be able to find them on the book. But it's on the 2nd floor of the convention center.
Go over there and buy one of those. One of these. Oh, can you see it? Let's see. There you go. Oh man, everything's in the way. Anyway, there it is back there.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Now they got other ones. I don't know if they got that particular one anymore.
They won't have it there at the Western show. That's not so much a Western picture.
Oh man, you see them cowboys like sci-fi. Don't let them BS you.
Yeah, well, based on how the book sold, they like the Westerns.
Well, they have no doubt about that part. What is that, Jenny? Yippee-ki-yay. Yeah, you see, y'all girls are just perverts up in this room tonight. Them cowboys don't like to be treated like that. No, they're soft and kind and loving nowadays. They're the modern cowboy. You ever seen that movie with John Travolta, Urban Cowboy? Yeah, there you go. Anyway, I'm trying to help you girls out because y'all sound bad when y'all say stuff like that. Yeah, we do have a guest coming on tonight. He'll be on with us in about 30 minutes. Watch.
He's an amazing author. I love his stories. Doug Richards.
Yeah,
Just,
he'll be on.
I'll be with you on it for a little bit of it. Then but I don't know that I don't know that I'll be able to stay for the whole thing, but I'll stay as long as I can.
Well, John's in the middle of parade goings, man. He got stuff going on. He's got to finish getting everything ready. He's got how many hours you got now?
Until the show until it happens. Well, tomorrow, this time is the green room's opening, and so celebs will start coming in tomorrow, same time.
Oh, so he ain't less than a day, people. Yeah, you gotta let that man get some rest. Right? Yeah, because he got to keep up with Crazy Woman. Yes.
Now, Joe, you just keep on doing that. You just keep on.
I was not talking about Emily on this particular thing. I was talking about somebody else, but I'm not gonna mention her name either because I don't get in trouble. What are you talking about? Oh, you mean judges? No, that's a whole different thing. No, you're talking about Writers of the Future. Well, no, it's in that building, but it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, the Writers of the Future. Joe comes out for that in April, and that's we're right now. That's that contest. We're in the first quarter of year 42 now. Yes. So we're in the middle of putting together, assembling volume 41. All the winners have been picked. All the art has been assigned to all the arts have been assigned to the winning stories, and they're turning in their art. And we've got the cover, and we've got the cover story. All that stuff is ready. So we're going to have it. I'm going to be sending out review copies to the media in about a month, and and then come April 8th, I think it is this year, is our gala. Yeah. So. Joe's got into that, and we have the end of January, I think, is when I have the cover reveal, and that's where we have people will actually see the cover art, and I'll have then
y'all can see it because he always invites me to the thing. So yeah, no, Rachel, this is the guy. This is who I was talking about. Well, was it not last Friday before last when we were talking about? Yeah, you can submit 4 times a year.
Yep.
Okay, I know when you heard, I forgot who was talking that night. It was one of the guests, but he was talking about he submitted 14 or 15 times, but that's not 14 or 15 years. That's 14 or 15 times.
Yeah, sometimes people will submit once a year. Sometimes they'll submit every quarter. If you're a fan of science fiction or fantasy, like Kevin Anderson, who right now is writing all the Dune books with Brian Herbert, he submitted 17 times over several years before he actually pro'd out, meaning he no longer qualified to enter the contest. And then a couple years later, I made him a judge for the contest. Brandon Sanderson, who's a very famous fantasy author, he submitted once and got an honorable mention and pro'd out when he came out with all of his Mistborn and all of his Cosmere universe. Let's see, Joe Hill, I think is his name. That's Stephen King's son. He was an honorable mention once. He obviously pro'd out. So we've got a lot of major authors who submitted the contest at the beginning of their careers and pro'd out, but then several major authors too who won the contest, and that gave them their career launch. So it went both ways. So it's an amazing contest. And what's also good too, about every week or 2 weeks, a press release will be published, where the writer says, and I also won honorable mention in Writers of the Future. So it's now getting honorable mention isn't a reject. It's a level of winning.
It is. Well, it is to let you know that you're doing good. You just weren't quite there. Just because I bitch about honorable mention doesn't mean anything. Yes, Jenny, I can't help it. I don't like losing. I'm a bad loser. Even when I was in school, when I played football, when I played darts, even when I gambled, look, I don't like losing. I can't help myself. And John taught me that. I got that from John. No, but no, Janine, this is who I was talking about. Yeah, when we were all that stuff we were talking about that night. Yeah, this is the John I was talking about. Yeah, yeah. See how nice he is and all. See, I told you he's a nice guy. Yeah, one day I'll have to tell you about that conversation. Not for this show, but I'll have to tell you about that conversation one day. No, he's president of Galaxy Press. He's the big boss over there. Emily does a lot of the work. John just says, "Woman, get to work."
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Yeah,
we both
right.
laughed at that way. Hopefully she wasn't listening. No, she's tough, man. She don't play around. No, she's a whirlwind. Honestly, it doesn't matter who we're talking about over there. They're all whirlwind. I mean, I haven't met anybody who slacks, because I would pick on them if they did. You know how I am. And everybody's just and everybody's eager to help everybody else. And it's not just making sure that the winners have a good time and learning and get what they came there for, because they do that out of instinct. But they also kind of watch out over each other, which, a lot of times people don't do that. A lot of times people are like, well, get out of my way, ass. I'm not going to say that language on this show. Stop it. Oh, these people are just trying to be encouraging tonight. It's Christmas time, people. You don't see the Christmas thing up behind you. You didn't hear the music we were playing. Shit, I won't even be cursing on
That
news on
was
the flip
Joe
side.
when he was a little boy. That was his performance as a little boy.
Yes, I would have had horns. I'm sorry.
That little boy in the very back, that single boy by himself. That was
Oh,
Joe.
yeah, that would have been me. It's what's that, Jackie? I was raised Catholic. I really was. Yes, I'm not Catholic, but I was raised that way. Yes. I made my confirmation and my communion. Yes, because my dad would have beat me to death otherwise. I mean, not physically, but still, my mom might have. No, I left churches for many reasons, but nothing that we can discuss here. No, I don't mind discussing it, just not on this particular show. So there are a couple of Arthur shows on the network. There's 4 that I know of. So John hosts Writers of the Future, which comes on an hour before
2 hours
this.
ago.
Yeah, so he was on, and then of course there is the Professional, which is with Echo Churning. She does. She's one of the illustrated judges for Writers of the Future, and then there's this show, and then there's Fika, and Fika just does chat, and then there's Church of Mavis, and he pretty much only does authors. So there's now the realm of authors we're talking about here are in different statutes, but still they're all doing authors. Well, Fika does everybody, anybody. She don't care. She just likes talking to authors. That's just who she is. Why is Iowa calling me? I'm not in the caucus. No, Stephanie. Well, no, if you're in LA, just show. I mean, I don't know if you can get any seats anymore or not, but any bleacher seats, but you can just show up and watch it. It's going to be a
The way
little
you can go to Ticketmaster and see if there's still tickets there, or else you can go to thehollywoodchristmasparade.org, and it'll give you all the different links to all the buttons to push to be able to get tickets. If you are in LA, I recommend that you find the nearest metro place where you are, and then take the metro into Hollywood. It gets off right there at the complex, right where at Hollywood and Highland. And that's where you can get out, and you get out of there and you're in Hollywood Boulevard. That's right there in front of the red carpet. So
you Californians really put yourselves in tubes on the ground when you know the ground can shake.
Oh, we like it. We have separate wagers to see. Okay, do you think you lay odds when you go in there, you put money in there, and you bet. So like whatever the odds are, you're gonna make it out the other end. You put money in, and if you make out the other end, then you collect your winnings. If you don't make it out, then the guy that betted against you, then
at least
gets
the
all
ground
money.
don't shake in New York. I'm just what's it? No, I like giving John a hard time. Honestly, I don't. You say that, but I don't think I've ever been in the subway. I really don't. I mean, I've been in cities with subways, but I've always been told to stay away from the subways, so I don't go get into damn things. Now, a friend of mine said, if I'm in New York, never get in the subway. He said, Joe, pay the extra money and take a cab or an Uber. He said, you'll probably get there in one piece. And then
that's not true. I used to take the taxis when I come into JFK or whatever airport I was flying into, and I finally ventured to take the subway, the train coming in. It was so much faster. It was way cheaper too, but it was so much. That's the main thing, was how much faster it was, because you don't have all the traffic is just insane getting across the bridges and
Oh, I
coming
can
into the
imagine getting
city.
across any bridges. One of the station managers used to live in Staten Island. She used to gripe up a storm, man. She'd say, I hate this place. What's it like down south? I said, it's not like that, that's for sure. I said, but you got to dodge hurricanes down here. It's I said, if you live inland, but see, the thing about hurricanes is if you live more than 3 miles inland, 4 miles, it's not that really big of a deal. A lot of rain, a lot of wind. You might lose your roof, maybe, but other than that, it's not going to be a big deal. It's definitely not like the same as sitting in your house. Well, my house moves anyway, so I kind of know what it feels like. But no, Gene, my house really does move. No, it does. It's made like that. It's on stilts. It's on stilts 12 feet off the ground. So you don't want your house to be rigid, because if something pushes against it when it's rigid, it'll make it snap. So like doing hurricane, the one that blew my roof on this house, my house was actually kind of pushed this way. About, if I remember what the engineer said, about 1.5 inches. It was leaning one way, and then it just self-corrected when the wind stopped. Well, it was 140 mile an hour sustained wind for about an hour. Yeah, it just peeled my metal roof right off my house like a can of two big chunks. Like I said, it's always fun to live in this house. Actually, in this very room I'm sitting in is where it peeled the roof off. Yes, right where I'm at. What's that, Denise? Yes, it's Hollywood Boulevard. What are you talking about? You mean them little food things they got out there on the weekends? Are they going to have them for the parade?
Yep. Yeah,
Yep,
they've
there
got
you
them.
go.
Yeah, we've got a council member whose parents were these had these carts, so that's his number one protection that he does. He likes the street vendors, and he'll do everything to protect them.
Well, I liked it. Look, I was out there with who was it? Chris and them two guys from UK. I was surprised them little sausage things was. Look, I don't know what they were. We're not going to go there, but whatever they were good. I'm from Louisiana. People, we eat anything. Just have y'all ever come down? Eat a Lucky Dog and bourbon when you come down. When they be sure you've been drinking now. That way, you kill the alcohol, kill any bacteria that may be in there. I like trying new foods, I like being new places. I found the food so far to be pretty decent in LA. I'm not a huge fan of the Wagyu beef because I don't find it to be any better than that black Angus we eat down here. So I think it's good, but I don't. I was expecting. How can I say this? I was expecting like, like Emerald says, pow. That's what I was expecting, but what I got was So, I eat a lot of steak. Trust me. You don't argue with me when it comes to steak. I eat a lot from a lot of different kinds, a lot of different places, and I don't like that stuff from the heartland. Y'all can keep that sage flavored steak. Just keep it. I don't like it. It's nasty. Well, you see, John, only if you know somebody that can get you inside Author Services. Yes. And why do you want to see John? He's not going to get on no float. What are you, crazy? Oh, Jackie saying you should buy you some old jalopy car that you can ride in the parade with. Yeah, because some stars probably want to get in there.
Thank you very much.
You see, that wouldn't even work out right. He'd end up looking like a chauffeur because some high-end star would want to probably jump in a jalopy and go for a ride. You see, man, sometimes my ideas just don't work out this way you think they are. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I've talked to some people who have been there. Matter of fact, we were second year. Anyways, one of the 2 years we stayed at the Roosevelt, I was talking with some of the people that work in a restaurant up front, and they were talking about the parade. They enjoyed it and stuff. Matter of fact, he said they were open for the parade.
Yeah.
And what is it? What was the name of that place?
25 degrees. 25 degrees.
25 degrees. I was going to say 24 degrees. Yeah, 25 degrees. Oh, no. I came to an understanding with this place quickly. Oh, yes. They even made me iced tea and kept it there for me. No, they're good people. That's what I'm telling y'all. LA gets a bad rap. Maybe it's the rich end of LA gets a bad rap. I don't know. But where I've been at, they get a bad rap. I haven't found anybody be rude. You can tell I'm not from there because I have an accent and a half. It's I've been all over in grocery stores and convenience stores and Targets and other places. Been at high-end restaurants, low-end restaurants, high-end hotels, other places. It's everybody seems nice. They want to make sure you're having a good time. I mean, maybe it's because they know I'm Jewish. You know, New Orleans is famous for that. We treat each other like crap, but we always treat the tourists. So maybe it's the same thing. I don't know. But they're always nice to me. So I'm not saying go down and go wandering around in places you don't belong, because I'm sure there's places you don't. All cities have their places you shouldn't go wandering in, but still. And then, you know, find somebody local, take you on a tour. One of these days, I'm going to eat at that Chinese restaurant up on the hill.
Yamashiro's.
Yes. Look, from where we were staying in a hotel, this thing's got to be 4 or 5 miles up the road on top of a hill. You could smell it at the hotel we were at. Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, no, the Chinese theater is right down the street from where they're at. I mean,
Yeah.
like 2 blocks, I think.
Not even.
Yeah, it's really close. But Olive Street, the whole damn street on both sides has stars on it. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the Walk of Fame goes on both sides of Hollywood Boulevard. It goes up Vine up to Sunset and up to Franklin, and it goes down Hollywood Boulevard to I forget what street it goes down to. It's about a mile and a half long on either side of the street.
No, I mean, like I said, well, that's different, Mark. We'll talk about that on news on the flip side. But I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it going on down there. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, but still, it's just part of being there. It's like any other thing, you know. There's always an upside and downside. I mean, I'm just telling you, because people ask me all the time. I've been to LA maybe 24, maybe 18 times in the 100 million years I've been alive, and all the time I've had a good time there. Even when I was stationed when I was stationed in San Diego, LA was a much different place. But still, oh no, there was smog back then, my friend. Yes, there was a little bit of smog back in the day, but everybody I met there was nice. Everybody in San Diego is fabulous too. They're just nice down there. What are you talking about? No, I was in San Diego because I was stationed in the Navy. There's a boot camp there. Marines and the Navy had a boot camp there. They have a port there. Yeah, you don't see the big ships parked on the side of the road. I don't know how you can miss them. You have a big highway driving right next to some of the biggest ships on the planet. Yeah, I don't know how you can miss them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just go check it out. I mean, look, I'm not going to San Francisco now, and I'm not going to Sacramento either. I'm just not. I'll go to Eureka. Yes, I'll go to Eureka, California. Yeah. I've never been in Northern California. Well, partially true. I've never been stopped anywhere in Northern California. How's that? I've driven through it on my way to somewhere else, to a different state. But it's really pretty. I mean, the whole state's pretty. Yeah, go check it out. Newsom's only going to be governor for 2 more years, and then y'all can move back in. Yes, that's right. Y'all can go back. You're not going back. I'm talking about actually with Jeremy. Jeremy used to live in San Francisco, California. And the entire time I known him there, he whined the entire time he lived there, even though he said it was a beautiful place. He now lives in Miami, Florida, which is a completely different world. I like Miami. It's different, isn't it? I told you it was going to be different. You see, if you live in Los Angeles, you should move to LA. I mean, to New York. Yes, at least the people are the same. Just go ahead. Stay out of the South is all I'm saying. Move up north and stay away from the South. No, he said, I think he said it starts like 4 tomorrow.
Yeah, well, the way it goes is...
Well, 2 y'all's time. I'm sorry, it's 4 here. Wrong time zone.
So the red carpet starts at 4 o'clock tomorrow. People start coming in around 2 or so, but the red carpet runs... media check-in starts at 2 o'clock, and then from 4 to 6 is the interviews on the red carpet. From 5 to 6, we have what we're doing this year. It's different. We're having performances on the red carpet to camera from 5 to 6, and at 6 o'clock, the parade itself officially kicks off. And what we do in this, because it's the 92nd annual Christmas parade celebrating the Toys for Tots, or Marine Corps Toys for Tots. And so the first float the first entry is the U.S. Marine Corps Marching Band. They're out of San Diego. And so they're performing. And then the General Lasker, who's the head of the Marine Corps Toys for Tots, will be in a car there. They're going out and they start off, they're playing Hooray for Hollywood is what they start with. And then it goes on for the next 2 hours. And so the streets, it goes from Orange up to Vine on Hollywood Boulevard, then Vine up to Sunset, then Sunset back up to Orange Street, which is right where the biggest In-N-Out hamburger stand is in their chain. Anyway, then they come back into the green room, but it's about a 3.5 mile route, and so they just go there. So it just goes one after the other. It used to be a problem before because sometimes the performers would stay and perform in front of the cameras during the parade. So that meant there might be 4 or 5 minutes of time between that float entry and the one before it. And so people are just outside waiting, for the next guys to come. And it's not so good if you're just waiting on the street. So now they're doing this stuff here so that it's just one after the other. They're going down the street performing them. We've got we have about 100 celebrities and VIPs, 12 marching bands. We have 13 of those big balloons, those helium balloons I was mentioning about, like if we got the one that from Stories from the Golden Age. 72 characters, novelties, and equestrians and groups. That includes our stars, our cars. We have 5 floats, and that includes one of them also from, which we talked about last night too, is Way to Happiness, which is the last book that Albert Hubbard wrote, which is a non-religious moral code. And he wrote that after the last time he went to New York, and he saw how the morality had just dropped out the bottom. So he wanted to do something to be able to help by providing a non-religious moral code to help people to do the right, just simple things, which nobody was taking responsibility for anymore. Schools weren't, religion wasn't, parents weren't, everybody's blaming everybody else. So he just said, okay, good, here's something you can use. And so anyway, so that's a really cool float we have there. And then other parade performers are grand marshals that we've had over the years. This is pretty cool. And some people that don't know the history of the Hollywood Christmas Parade. When it first started, it was called the Santa Claus Lane Parade. And the original purpose of it was to bring business into Hollywood. And so that was way back in 2020 or something like that. In 1923 or something like that. So, but the Grand Marshals we've had over the years were Gene Autry, Roy Rogers, Bob Hope, Art Linkletter, Lawrence Welk, Charlton Heston, Dale Evans and Roy Rogers, Danny Thomas, Mary Pickford, Dick Van Dyke. Dick Van Dyke was here in our building a few years ago, and he was a guest again at the parade. And that was the year we had some barbershop quartet performing for the various celebrities on the 4th floor. Turns out that Dick Van Dyke was a barbershopper. So he joined them in singing, and what they were doing in barbershop quartet, they were like over the moon. They were like, "Oh my gosh," having Dick Van Dyke perform with them. What's that?
I think I remember seeing him do one of those in a skit on on his show.
Possibly, yeah. The Dick
Sounds
Van Dyke
familiar
show.
for some reason. Yeah, the Dick Van Dyke show. Yeah.
Yeah, but then we also had
people. I'm old enough to watch it. Shut up.
Yeah. We also had Buddy Ebsen, Fred McMurray, Pat Boone, Robert Vaughn, Walter Matthau, Ernest Borgnine, Johnny Mathis, General Robert E. Cushman Jr., and General Omar Bradley, John Wayne, Jimmy Stewart, Robert Wagner, Natalie Wood, Ron Howard, George Peppard, Michael Landon, William Shatner, Mickey and Minnie Mouse, Tony Danza, Sammy Davis Jr., Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tom Arnold, and Roseanne Barr, Bob and Dolores Hope, Lou Gossett Jr., David Hasselhoff, Robert Ulrich, Bo Bridges, Dennis Hopper, Frankie Muniz, Peter Fonda, Mickey Rooney, Johnny Grant, Magic Johnson, Antonio Villaraigosa. He was the mayor at the time. We've had Larry King, Marie Osmond, Joe Mantegna, Buzz Aldrin. He was a cool guest when we had him talking about, what it was like when he was, flying on the moon. There was Stevie Wonder. He's literally a prince of a man. He was just such a nice person. Olivia Newton-John, Dr. Oz, Dr. Mehmet Oz. Little did we know that he's going to be such a big player in the future with the country. But anyway, he was our host. Mario Lopez, Cheryl Underwood, Danny Trejo, and then this year, like I said, we've got Jeremy Renner. So we've had a great list of parade marshals. But one thing that's really interesting is Gene Autry. He's also known as the singing cowboy. So one year when he was when he was at the parade, I don't know if he's a grand marshal that year because he attended many times. He saw a little boy tugging on his mama's shirt saying, "Mommy, Mommy, here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus." Mm-hmm. That was the inspiration to the song that he wrote, "Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane." That's because that was the Santa Claus Lane parade. So that's what inspired that song, which has been so famous, but that was from this parade. Then it became the Hollywood Christmas Parade. But it's the parade is open to everybody. It's just all religions, all ethnicities, all nationalities.
I heard they said no white people
talking about
allowed.
Last night. What's that?
I said I heard they said no white people allowed.
Thank you, Joe. So
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you look really sorry.
Well, I'm just saying,
parade, we got 5,000 participants, and it'll be aired on the CW network on the 14th of December at 8 p.m. So that's a Saturday night on the CW. So if it's Central, East, or West Coast, it's all 8 o'clock p.m. It's a 2-hour special. Now, when you do that special, it gets chopped because it's obviously more than a 2-hour parade. Yeah. You got the praise 2 hours, you got the pre-show, and then you've also got the recorded performances in studio that were done. So it's like a 3.5-hour parade in total. So on the Pop Star TV, which is an app you can download, it's free. They got like 400,000 subscribers. They're having the full unedited parade there. So you can see the whole thing there, and that'll be playing all throughout December to see the parade, all the different bands and everybody else, not just a little 5-second or 10-second clip, but you see the whole thing while they're in front of the cameras there as it goes down Hollywood Boulevard. And so we're very excited about. We'll have our balloon there, and we have there'll be a little segment that they do inside the green room saying, "Here we are in Author Services." You'll see that in the parade broadcast. But we're very excited about it because it's sparked by having our books, as originally when we first started back there in 2008, and we keep on doing it right now. And so it's something that, hopefully we continue doing it. We'll see, each year is its own thing. We operate on the agreement. It's a handshake that we're the green room. So as long as they want us, we'll still be it. There's no contracts. We just say, what do you need? And say, we need this, this, and this. Okay. And then we do it. And then the parade's over. We clean it up, and we're ready. Then we're up to our eyeballs and preparing for the Rise of the Future Gala. Because events.
Yeah, because you're only 4 months out then.
That's right.
4.5 months. Well, no, you're early.
Not even. So April 8th. It's April 8th.
You're early. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, so it's. Oh yeah, man. So it's 4 months.
So we're definitely moving heavily into that, and it's events are 80% preparations, 20% execution. So we have a lot of work goes in to make them. They don't necessarily look effortless, but they come off pretty good. But because we have so much prep.
It's nice you don't have a huge amount of turnover with the people who are doing the important stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that does help because at least they know their job's going in.
Yeah, we let people retire when they die. Up to that point.
That's pretty much what I see over there when they retire when they die. That's just how they are, man. That's what they believe. Retire when you die. And they're probably not even retiring in. They're probably knocking on the box and stuff, going, "Hey, wait, I forgot to do something."
Yeah.
Some of us like to stay busy.
Yep.
When I get on the other side, I don't say, "Well, your hands were just idle for about 2 decades." No, they weren't. I'm not really good at sitting for long periods of time. I try every now and then. I'll get talked and let's stay home for a while. Yeah, and I can go a week maybe if I'm not working. Maybe a week. I can't. It makes me crazy. I just got to be doing something. Well, I can be in a house, Jimmy. I just got to be doing something. I can be working on a house. I can be doing stuff online or doing stuff at the station or doing contracts for other things. And as long as I'm busy, I'm okay. Well, I like to get out and about too. I like to travel, so I get on the road a lot.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Christopher, I know y'all asked us about the Pensacola thing. Man, so it's the week between Christmas and New Year's, right? That's going to be tough. Anyway, just write me at iCarCox.net, ICARCox.net. We can talk about it. Yes. Anyway, we got to bring our guest in. What's it down? He's been patiently waiting so nicely down there.
Hey,
Mr.
Doug.
Douglas E. Richards, he's coming to hang out with us today. And how he got tossed in with these crazies, I don't know. But hey, Douglas, how you doing? Hey, Doug, how you doing?
Good. Yeah, I'm doing really well. For a second, I didn't realize that you guys were on the show. I thought you were kind of waiting for me to come on, and I thought my mic wasn't working or something. I'm glad I figured that out. But I'm doing well.
Hey,
can
Jenny,
you
how you
adjust your
doing?
camera so that you're not doing the Kilroy?
So how do I adjust it? I'm really bad at this.
Well, you look like this now.
Say that again.
You look like this right now, so I just see your floating head.
Is it a laptop?
You need to go back?
There you. Okay, that's better.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
okay,
if it's a laptop, you can just pull the top towards you a little bit.
No, it's actually a standalone, a desktop.
Okay.
Ironically, I write about the future I write about future technology, but I can't use current technology.
It's funny.
pretty
I've
embarrassing.
talked to so many people like yourself that all this amazing stuff, and then you say, okay, can you do this? How do I do that? How do I do that? It's funny.
I assume you guys can hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you just fine.
Coming in 5x5.
Great. Okay, fantastic.
Jenny, if you're still listening, hey, I just now seen you were in the other chat group. I was reading from the other chat group. It's a strange thing. So how you been? Everybody's treating you good, Doug? Life's being nice.
I cannot complain. Everything's good. Thank
Now
you.
you just released a book, right?
Well, it was a bit ago, but yeah, it was the fourth one in my. It's called Nick Hall series, Mind's Eye series. It's the only one I've done 4 of. I usually do standalones.
Yeah.
But this one we just kept on going, and so now I released the 4th one, and I'm pretty happy about it. There's an outfit trying to make a movie out of the series, or at least starting with the first one, and so that's moving along. So we'll see. Hopefully one day it'll be a movie.
That's
That'd
good.
be nice. Movies are always a good thing.
But the options itself, sometimes the options are as much as you get on your royalties for the book. So I had Mike Resnick, who was one of our judges. He passed away a few years ago. He loved it every time he'd option one of his stories for a movie. He said, I love it. I'll take your checks. I'll cash your checks.
Mike Resnick is one of my all-time favorites. I had no idea he was one of your judges. I love Mike Resnick. I know he passed away, but his short stories especially, he won so many awards.
He was the most award-winning author of short stories in living or dead. He won more than anybody.
It's funny when I started writing, and I tried to figure out how am I get a sense of how to do it, because I didn't take any courses or anything. I just said, well, who do I like? So I went to a couple of my favorite authors, and he was one of them, to get a sense of I really thought he did dialogue well. What is his secret for doing dialogue? Anyway, but he's
that's
amazing.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's funny in this world of writers how small it really is when you get into the upper stratosphere of successful writers, how small it is. But Mike was he was such a good. He tried to get me to take over the Galaxy's Edge magazine because I'm Galaxy Press. He said, well, you should do it. I said, no, I shouldn't. Just doing this contest is enough. It doesn't do my nut on that. But he was a judge for half a dozen years. Just a dear friend. I would set him up and bring him out to different conventions and stuff, and I'd team up with him. But he was he had all of his Mike's children, that they'd be called, all the people that he'd take under his wings and help apprentice and train and help with. And he loved the contest. He just loved the contest and coming out every year and helping to train. And he loved BarCon, so at the end of each workshop day, they go to the bar and they just chat, so he'd be there answering all the questions they've got and just whatever he could do to give them more tips and help them along their way. Just a great guy. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a little bar con. Let's be honest now,
Yeah, but he used to love, like I said, getting those checks for his for the options. He said, I'll option whatever they want to option for me. I don't care if they ever produce it or not. I'll spend their checks.
Yeah, it all spends.
Yeah. So but anyway, no, because I'm looking forward to. I wrote you. I wanted to get your okay to invite you officially, off screen before I said because I'd love to have you back on as a guest, and we can talk about, whatever you want to talk about, whatever either this series or whatever the book. Because I had a lot of fun. Believe me, last one, just whatever you want to talk about. If you can just send me a link and I will read it or listen to whichever it is, and we can then schedule an interview. And I love your writing. Your storytelling is great, so I know it'll go a lot faster because I already know how you write.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. I'd love to do it. And it's an interesting meeting Joe. Joe, this is the first time we've met. But I know that you do this UFO podcast that's very, very popular and successful. And I was thinking about you. I wrote it. One of my most recent novels was called Unidentified, and it was like a fictional take on what was going on out there. I mean, infinitely more about this stuff than I do.
If you ever need any material, give me a call.
What's that? Oh yeah. I mean, it's really, I was such a skeptic for so long, and
good to be a skeptic there.
Yeah. But then, when the stuff came out about, the 60 Minutes interview about the Nimitz event and all that stuff started to come out, I started to think, wait a minute, this seems awfully real. And then especially when I saw patents out there that the U.S. Navy had not only filed for, but gotten issued, which basically mirrored, like electromagnetic shielding, like an impenetrable shield. And they had another patent on, a craft that really mimicked the kind of some of the stuff that we've been seeing, that can go underwater, in space, in air at ridiculous speeds, ridiculous G-forces, that kind of thing. And the Navy actually patented a craft like that. And that just blew my mind. But anyway, enough about that. I just
no. Well, the very first time I ever got flagged on my security clearance after I got out of the Navy was because I was talking about electronic shielding on our F-14s. And everybody's like, that far back? I said, oh yeah, that far back. I said, I was quite, and sure enough, if I didn't get a call like 8 days later from the FBI, they're like,
really?
Oh yeah. Well, I got a class 10 security clearance. It's way the hell up there. It's everybody thinks it's for all kind of nefarious reasons, but it's just because of what I did in the service, but nefarious reasons, sorry. But it's mainly for what I did in the service, but it's, if you take like above top secret, if you go about 30 times I have that's about where my classification
Wow.
is. Well, it's because of what I worked on, and you keep him for life.
I did an interview with him on my podcast about the book he's talking about right now. Yeah, he'd be a great guest for you talking about, because when I went because I read the ebook, so I was able to press on the link and
see those patents.
See these patents he's talking about. It was like it was trippy, totally just seeing like, wow, all this stuff that they've put out there, and the research they did. It's a fiction book, but it's like those things I was talking about before, Joe, like with, another guest that did recently, that this near future science fiction stuff is really scary because you think, okay, that's just science fiction, but because of what he just said right there, it's so plausible, it could be real. You don't know how much of it's real and how much of it's science fiction.
I think you get
last night's show we talked about it.
Yeah, Joe, I think you might get a kick out of this. So the premise of the book, it kind of mirrors my own life. Science fiction author who was kind of burnt out a little bit. And that time I was a little burnt out, and is really fascinated by UFO stuff coming out. So he hatches this plan that he's going to go on a show like yours, and he's going to pretend he wants to find out what's really going on. So he's going to kind of, get it out in the open by going on a big show with a huge audience and pretending that he knows all the answers. And he's going to say, look, on your next show, I'm going to tell you everything. I mean, every last thing is going to blow your mind. Okay. And he's hoping that the powers that be that don't want it released will come after him. So he hires a bunch of mercenaries to protect himself. He goes on and pretends to know, but he really doesn't know. He's just hoping to lure the people who do know into attacking him. So it's just kind of ironic that the guy, it's kind of like what's happening now. A real author going on a real show like yours, that has a huge audience. Although the difference is I'm not pretending that I know what's going on.
Well, you did. Well, I tell people when the first time somebody ever told me anything about this, I looked at them like, we have psychologists in the service, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. And well, John knows what kind of, you know, what I can be. And I was just like that. I'm I need proof. I'm not, I can't, to me, it's not like, you know, when we talk about ufology, it's not like religion. I can't believe. If I wanted to believe, I'd go believe in a God somewhere or something else. I need proof. I need facts. I need to be involved in
Yeah.
stuff. And fortunately for me, because of certain reasons and people I've met over the years, I've got to see some pretty interesting stuff. But how much you can talk? See, that's our other problem. You get to see it, but you can talk about this much of what you seen like this. It's insane, but still, I have no doubt today what's going on.
Really?
Uh,
I
oh
need to
yeah,
call
no
you
doubt.
offline with the secure
Oh, we have a
line.
great, yeah. We well, I'm allowed to talk about a lot of it. My problem is they don't get upset so much. Like somebody came on one night, we did this big research show on alien agendas, if it could possibly be even real, right? Because we weren't trying to portray this as weird. We were just trying to say, hey, you know, maybe kind of, sort of, but no, there's no proof to any of this.
Yeah.
Right smack in the middle of the show, we start talking what alien agendas could be. Not only did my server go down, and the guest server, which was Alfred Weber, he used to be a science advisory for Jimmy Carter. And everybody who was listening, all 3.5 million people listened, everyone lost connection. And every time we would get back on, every 15 minutes, everyone would lose connection again. As far
Wow.
as I knew back then, that was an impossible thing to do because our audience just isn't local just to the US. We have a worldwide audience. So how do you, you got to have some serious technology. And I was like, so, and then we had one of them come on and say, stop doing it. There's only one of you getting in, and we've been threatened. I was threatened in
Really?
front. I had a big roofing crew with me of 20 guys. When these guys in this white SUV with tinted windows with gray Armani suits and a 45 strapped to the side walked up to the building and did this. I just looked at one of the guys and said, somebody's in trouble with the Fed, right? That's what I figured. And no, they kept pointing, and then I pointed at myself, and they're like, "Well, I said, well, I'm not in trouble with the Fed. What the hell's going on here?" No, they were pretty. They were pretty. They told me where my wife was, where my son was, how they were dressed, what they were doing. I was like, "Ooh, okay." He said, "You know, it's not always about you, Mr. Joe." I was like, "Excuse me?" He said, "Yeah, it's not always about you." I was like, "Oh, okay." You kind of drove that point home. I mean,
You know,
but on the same note, though, I have been given pervy information because of what I do.
yeah, I mean, that's very far. I would love that. You know, I've had such an evolution in so many different ways since I started writing. You know, I've had an evolution in terms of you know, now I believe in UFOs. I thought I was the biggest skeptic in the world.
Should be.
So, that, you know, if you go back in time 10 years ago and you hear me talk now, I wouldn't have believed myself that I've evolved this much. And, you know, interestingly enough, you know, in terms of like spirituality, I guess you would call it, you know, when I started writing, I was pretty much an atheist. I mean, maybe a little agnostic, but for the most part, I really didn't believe in God. And you know, as I studied, because I have to do ridiculous amounts of research. That's kind of my claim to fame in science fiction. Is I do, you know, so yeah, I have,
You're gonna be good, yeah.
Pulse pounding narratives and fast paced, action packed stuff, thrillers. But by the same token, I try to use accurate science. That's kind of my thing.
One
And
of the things that Star Trek out.
what's that?
That's one of the things that made Star Trek famous. They tried to put as much real science in as they could.
Yeah, I mean, people, my fans at least, seem to love that stuff. So
No,
you know,
I do
more,
too.
yeah, I appreciate that, John. Yeah. So as I did more and more research, I came across something called the fine-tuned universe hypothesis. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but basically it says scientists are finding that all these different constants, universal constants, like the force of gravity, the weight of the proton, you know, the charge on an electron, all of these things have to be precisely tuned in order for life to exist, in order for carbon to exist, for stars to ignite, you know, all the different things. And it's like 1 in infinity chance that they could all happen exactly. They could all be, you know, like 20 different things have to be exactly what they are. And the odds are so infinitesimal. And so, you know, so I thought, well, and theologists immediately say, well, that means there was a creator. I mean, how could it be that all these impossible coincidences happen? And so I said, well, what do scientists say? What's their, you know, how do they explain this? And basically the scientific explanation is that, you know, there's an infinite number of universes. And so there's bound to be one that gets it right. I mean, so out of the infinity, we just happen to be the one. And that, I mean, that's a possibility. But, you know, I began to think, wow, you know, it seems to me, you know, is there a creator? Is there not a creator? I have no idea. but it seems like an infinite number of universes is just as implausible to me as the idea of a creator. So who's to say what's more ridiculous? I mean, they both seem pretty
Well,
ridiculous.
maybe it's a little bit of everything. I talk about this with some of the lectures I do about the universe itself being sentient, because when you look at the universe, it has the ability to create and destroy life. It does it here every day, but not just here. We know now, or I should say, I mean, I've been predicting this for 2 decades, but science is finally catching up. They agree now that we're going to probably find life on Mars. We're definitely going to find it on 4 or 5 of the moons around Jupiter and Saturn. Now, when I say life, ladies and gentlemen, don't write to us. We're not talking about intelligent, even though it's possible. We're just talking about every day some kind of creatures. We're not talking little microbes. We're actually talking about creatures and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They do think we're going to find all of that out there. So when you start looking at the universe itself and how big it is, we're not even talking about the multiverse, just even our own little galaxy. That's what they upgraded it lately to 170,000 light years across. It's big.
Oh,
Trillion planets in it. God knows what we're going to find out there. So for me, when you look at the universe, maybe you and I are just little cells inside the universe being broke off so the universe, so it can be made manifest, so it can figure out its own self.
No,
it's
I mean,
so big now.
It's like
in this book here, Joe, the Battlefield Earth, there's notes in the back which are Hubbard notes as he's writing it. And so there's one note here: light year equals about 6 trillion miles, 400 billion suns in this galaxy. This universe contains perhaps 100 billion galaxies. From Earth to the center of this galaxy is about 30,000 light years. And these are just notes that he made as he was working out the scope of this book.
Yeah, there's so many things that when you get into all of this that, like the way everything spins, when you look at a hurricane, when you look at a galaxy, when you look at a solar system, when you look at a universe, and most people don't even realize that we're astronauts. All 8 billion of us are astronauts. We're living on a planet that's spinning at 63 miles an hour, traveling around at 190,000 miles a second or something, as we're cruising through the galaxy. So not only are we spinning around our own self, we're spinning around the sun, and the sun's spinning around a galaxy, and not just moving in a circle, it's moving in an elliptic, but it's also moving up and down as it's doing it. We're all over the place.
Joe, my most successful novel actually takes that into account. So I wrote a novel 2017 called Split Second, and I wanted to write something not new on a new take on time travel, because it's been done a million times, right? In movies and TV. Yeah. So I studied. I mean, I read endless. I spent like 6 months researching time travel. And I came up with this concept that I think is unique. And actually, like I said, it's been my most successful novel. It was like number, I think, 17 for the entire year on Amazon, the number 17th, best-selling book. But anyway, the concept is. The premise was this, the hook was this. Let's say you could go back like a millionth of a second in time. Okay, what good would that do you? I mean, how would that be helpful? I mean, the blink of an eye, because you couldn't play the stock market based on insider information. You couldn't change a mistake. Like, try not to break up with your girlfriend or whatever, all the common time travel plots. So what would a millionth of a second do? And the idea and the hook, the twist is that you actually could teleport. So in a millionth of a second, I did the calculation. I don't remember what it was, but the Earth moves like, let's say, 47 feet in that time. And I went through the thing you just did, Joe, where, we're moving around the sun, et cetera. The sun's moving through the galaxy. There's so much movement going on. And I can't remember now what it was, but, it's, hundreds of thousands of miles an hour. I can't remember what the exact number is.
It's howling, but.
Yeah. But if you could go back, just a blink of an eye, you would actually be 47 feet away, because the Earth would have moved in that time. And, so if you go back a day, you'd be in deep space, right? Because the Earth would move out from under you. And a day before, the Earth wasn't in that same spot. So, the other thing you could do is duplication. You could make a copy of yourself by going back in time, because there's one now and there's one a billionth of a second ago. And so really, it wasn't even about time travel. So it was the only time travel novel that really isn't about time travel the way it typically is portrayed. It's really using time travel for teleportation and duplication of items. And it was a unique premise. And again, it was my most successful novel, but I'm kind of babbling, but you rang a bell when you're talking about the how quickly the Earth is actually moving without us.
Because we're moving it, and I believe it's 400 80,000 miles an hour is what the solar system takes. Because I remember it was 230 million years to make one trip around. And the reason I always found that number so significant is it ties in with a couple of the great extinctions on our planet, which makes me think sometimes something we're passing through, because people forget we're passing by other solar systems,
Mhm.
but we're passing by nebulas. God only knows what this planet's going to go through in 100 million years, or even 20 million years, or 10 million. We just don't know. And it may be something that we pass through. Maybe we pass through a group of red giants and the planet gets irradiated. There's no way really knowing, but there's got to be something that's really a reason why it's killing off 80 and 90% of everything on the planet at one time. The asteroid excuses just aren't good enough anymore. They don't work. It's too many things that would have been left alive in the oceans. So it just doesn't follow suit to what they're saying. So there's got to be something else. And then that something else could simply be something we're going by. We might be going by a dwarf. We might be going by a blue giant or some. God only knows what it could be. As far as we know, it could be friggin' aliens that just call the planet every time we pass through their neighborhood.
Or like a mini black hole or something. Who knows?
Or mini black hole. There's
yeah.
so many. You could write several books on that, because I mean, it's just too many things.
I write a lot about the immensity of the universe, like you're talking about. You know, when I went into that example about an infinite number of universes, and I talk about, you know, like how I've evolved. I mean, I the only thing I know is I know nothing. I mean, the universe is so mind-bogglingly immense and impossible. I mean, so you know, I almost believe in anything. I mean, I believe anything is possible at this point. When you really think about it, and the way I explain it in my novels, I have is like, you know, I start at the sun, and so, you know, we all kind of know how big the Earth is, but the sun can fit 1 million Earths inside of it.
Yep.
1 million Earths, and our sun is a small one. I mean, it's below average in size for this galaxy, and you know, you're saying that in Battlefield Earth, I think 100 million. Or 200 million or 400 million, whatever, in our galaxy, and 100 million galaxies. Now that with the new telescopes, they're thinking there's 1 trillion galaxies, each with like 100 billion or more stars. And each star is, you know, the average is bigger than our sun, and our sun can fit 1 million Earths inside. I mean, how can you even imagine, you know, a ball of fire burning for 4 billion years that could fit 1 million Earths inside? Just imagining the sun is impossible.
Well,
I mean, it's just
think about may have created the massive black hole at the center of our galaxy.
Yeah.
So usually that's a sun that creates a mass. That would have meant there was when the universe was first created, that it threw off a bunch of giant suns and they collapsed, and they created the universe by gathering all the stuff in the areas around them, by just like they do today, just like when our accretion disk happened in our own solar systems when it first forms. That's what they're thinking happened. They think that these were giant. We're talking suns. We're talking suns half the size of our.
They still have their beginning too. So even if you have the big sun, like that beginning too.
It's beginning.
It does start. You know, the fact of having a creator becomes more plausible than thinking that, because even when they get into spontaneous combustion, something had to amount for something to be there to combust. You know, it's like all this thing.
Oh yeah, well, there was something there
before that, and so that's where you get into that thing, that the concept of a creator becomes more plausible than these specious things of like, yeah, well, you got this hitting that and becomes this in a turbulence, whatever. It's like,
but Johnny, the black holes grow for two reasons. One, because they eat, but two, our galaxy, we're eating right now. Currently, the Milky Way is eating 5 galaxies. The biggest one is the Sagittarius galaxy, but we're eating other galaxies. Eventually, they said 1 billion years. It's looking more like 650 million years now. Andromeda is going to eat us, and we're going to turn into one massive monster galaxy. Afterwards, it'll all go back into being a galaxy. God knows how long it'll take, 100 million years or so, but it'll all go back in. But that doesn't even mean our planet will be affected, because right now they're not sure if Earth is actually from the Milky Way. It might have been from the Sagittarius galaxy. It may have been deposited here along with all those red dwarfs that are hovering around our planet right now. They know those red dwarfs came from Sagittarius, so they're thinking, was Earth stationary here and these suns just came around us, or did we come in with the flow from the other galaxy?
We are a backwater. We are a backwater planet. I mean, you know,
we live out off the spiral arm. So
right, yeah. I mean, if you look at our sky, like in the center of the galaxy, there'd be 1 million times as many stars per, that we would see. It would just be like daylight all the time because there'd be so many stars. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I just got nudged from Emily, so I need to go back to setting up for the parade now. I've got a Hollywood Christmas parade tomorrow, so
So I
we're the
said,
green room. So she's just saying, "Are you done yet, John?" So
so I said, keep them fingers off of you until this is all over with. Now, none of that hanky panky stuff, man.
Joe,
Enjoy the parade, John, and all the
thank you very
celebrities.
much. Very good talk. And I'll follow up after this, Doug, to be able to schedule to do this interview and whatever book we're going to talk about. And then just one thing too about your when you were as a guest is I really enjoyed our podcast interview because a lot of the people listening that participate in Rise of the Future, you know, what you talk about in terms of research, the importance of research really came right to a new level because you're able to take a story like when you get into near future, the problem with it is that it's really easy to poke holes in it. So what you're able to do with near future on your science fiction and make it, you know, at what point does it turn into science fiction from fiction? You got to be really good to pull that off, and you did very well. So, you know,
Thanks.
kudos to you on that. But that's one thing that made your podcast interview so good too for anybody, you know, interested.
You
in
best go
near
on
future
before you
science
get me
fiction.
in trouble with Emily.
Okay,
All
Get me
right,
in
so I have to
trouble
go
with the
back.
boss
So
lady.
nice seeing you again. I'll talk to you later, Joe, and we'll
We'll
connect
catch up sometime next week.
a little bit later.
Ladies
fantastic,
and
John.
gentlemen,
Thanks. Good
that
seeing
was
you.
Mr. John Goodwin, Galaxy, president of Galaxy Press Shop. You should check him out. He'll be out there working his butt off, so y'all be sure to go check out the parade. Write to us and let us know how you liked it. If you're looking at any pictures, we dropped some last night on the news on the flip side, so y'all go check those out. Yes, they were all decked out, looking good. But be sure to check him out and give him some love, guys and girls. So and check him out on Writers of the Future. His show airs at 2:00, right before the professional with Echo Churning. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. You know, near sci-fi has always been my favorite. So it's been something for me. Well, first off, I got a bachelor's in science. I'm a geek right off the get-go. But I just and then I've got degrees in advanced electronics and advanced avionics. Plus, while I was in the Navy, I learned aircraft recognition and all kind of other weird stuff. It's because I was a plane captain aboard the Nimitz before. Well, I was special forces for 18 months, and then I was on the Nimitz waiting deployment. So while I was there, I got bored. I said something I can do because all we were doing sitting below decks. They said, "Yeah, we need plane captains." He said, "I see you got all the certifications." I said, "Yeah, man. I started out as an Airedale," and he said, "Well, come on." They put me up there, and after about 2 weeks, I loved this job. I was in charge of the whole flight deck. I loved this job. Man, I was having a field day up there. Got to run the pilots, got to run the crews. And then one day a thing for a missile broke and I went and fixed it. And I fixed it in about 10 minutes, launched the plane, got through, cleared the day. So later on that day, the number one comes down to talk to me. He said, how long did it take you to fix that electronic issue? I said, oh, in about 8 minutes. He said, you got degrees in electronics? I said, advanced avionics, advanced electronics. I said, that was my original posting, was going to be on this ship for that. I said, but they picked me and pulled me into special forces because of my leadership skills. And I was like, he's like, really? He said, I got a problem we've been having with this system on the flight deck, which I can't even mention the name of because it's still classified. He said, you think you can get it up and running? I'm like, well, I didn't even know what it was. I go up there, I start playing, I pull the board out. I said, yeah, I can get this running in about 8 minutes. Went and got a bobby pin and a lighter, a big lighter. And I was using it to move the solder around. Boom, the whole system lights up. Plug it back in completely. Everything's working. He looked at me. He looked at me, and then he looked at the captain. The captain looked at him. He said, well, guess what? You're no longer working on a flight deck. I said, what are you talking about? I thought I'd screwed up or something. He said, oh, no. He said, you're going to get promoted from enlisted to officer. He said, we're going to drop you from, I was the E4 at the time. They made me a lieutenant within 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because I could not be where, so I had to be, they wanted me inside the conning tower and inside the reactor room. I couldn't be in either one without a class 10 or higher security clearance, which is equal to my captain's. And I couldn't be an enlisted man and be inside the flight deck or the reactor room. I was like, what? He said, oh, yeah, you've been promoted. I was like, okay. Got to say, I was getting flight pay. And I mean, I made good money when I was on the Nimitz because they give you flight deck pay, hazardous pay, all kind of extra pays. Plus, I was a 4x10, so I got 4x10, which was reservist pay. And it was insane. But when they moved me, it caught me off guard. And to be honest with you, I kind of always regretted it because even though it was a cush job, I missed being on the flight deck.
Mm.
I miss being out there ducking under jet engines and launching things down and making sure everybody was doing their job. I don't know, I enjoyed it.
Mm.
But it was a lot of, but I was on the USS Nimitz on 2 different occasions when there was supposable visitations. One of
Yeah.
them was when Ronald Reagan was there.
Yeah.
The only time I ever had the captain clear the entire flight infrastructure altogether. That means deck, on secondary deck. No one could, even the camera systems weren't on. All the circuit systems were turned off.
Hmm.
All but one system, which was looking at the forward deck. The ship came to a complete stop, which it never does unless it's porting ever at sea. That was just so weird. Even when we were taking on stuff from tenders and having subs parked between us and the sender, we never slowed down.
Hmm.
It was always cruising, and because that's how you got. If you got to launch jet, you got to be moving. And then I still remember that day, the whole front of the carrier did this number.
Hmm.
So there was enough weight on the front of the carrier that it pushed it down. Now, I
Huh.
don't know if any aircraft that we not even a B-52, which couldn't have landed on anyway, would have been heavy enough to push the front of a carrier down 2 or 3 stories into the water. Whatever it was super heavy. And they say that's what delivered Ronald Reagan to the boat, whatever that was. And then there was a bunch of guys in the deck that got one of the circuit cameras working for the front deck. And they kept saying they seen weird things come out what looked to be a saucer. It went around on the boat for months, and then everybody had to they made everybody sign a security clearance, which mine ran out after 36 years. It ran out. And get this, I'm on a friend of mine's show, Stephen Bissett, and I talked to him a little bit about it. And guess what? I got a phone call.
Hmm.
I said, well, wait a minute. I said, first off, the Nimitz is being retired. What does it matter that I'm even talking? Oh, no, it's not being retired. And you can't talk about anything that happened on board that ship. And sure enough, they sent me a new security clearance to sign.
Well, they're keeping
Actually,
track.
to be honest with you, they didn't even send it. They showed up at the house with it and made me sign it in person.
Hmm.
It was, it's part of it. People ask me all the time because I'll do work for, after Katrina, I was remodeling a guy's house. Turns out he was a forensic expert for the FBI. He ran a background check on me before he let me in his house. And so he called me when they said, you come by my house, I want to talk to you about something. I said, do we do something to aggravate you something? Because we've been working this guy's house. And he said, no, I got a question for you. He said, sit down, I can ask you. I was like, sure. He said, Joe, how come the FBI does a background search on you every 2 to 4 years? I said, I have really, really, really high security clearance, man. Really high. It's like, I said, they just do it. I said, it's nothing personal. I said, they just do it because they want to make sure I'm not. And once I got on started doing radio, I noticed they put me on the list. They got some kind of list. So we get keyword searched all the time. They don't really care. And, I mean, I've been warned about certain things not to talk about, but other than that, they don't really care. They want you really and truly when it comes to UFO and stuff like that. They really do want you talking about it. There used to be somebody when I first started hosting radio on Wake Up USA that used to break into the system and tell us all kind of stuff. He worked for the government. I don't know how else he could have gotten into the system. And he broke right in and hacking. And we were on 1690 AM back then. So hacking into AM radio is a federal crime and a big federal crime. Anytime screwing with the airways will get you in big trouble. And FCC wasn't even interested. They made the report and he got it back. Oh, it was just some harmless thing. Really? Because it was like every couple of weeks. It got to the point where we would be doing shows and I said, well, why don't you just ask a question, Mr. Guy hanging out on the line with us? And since you were, and they would just come in and ask a question to the guest or ask a question to me and then disappear again. The guests it weirded out a lot of my guests. It weirded out. Then when we got on UFO Undercover, I became the producer. And we use a different type of system. So it's a lot harder. And the system I use today, it's hard to get into. I mean, I still do build and design computers, so I'm not exactly an idiot when it comes to protection. And I got some good friends. A good friend of mine got his ass sent to Alaska he was there for like 10 years for hacking NASA. Well, they offered him that. They told him 10 years in prison or 10 years in Alaska, your choice. And he still works for him. I think he's in the Pentagon right now. He was down in Australia for a while at the the Queensland's facility, the Pine Gap facility. That's where he was. So he was up at the Hart facility in Alaska for almost a decade, which there's some goes on up there. And then he was at Pine Gap, which we busted Pine Gap. Pine Gap came out in, I think it was 98 or 99, said, okay, we're closing shop. No more deals. It's over with, done things. Okay. So I had people just scouring any information that can come out of it. And then a guy comes up with a set of invoices from 2022 on some deliveries that had just been made to Pine Gap. So we released them. And we got all kind of lawyers called us, cease and desist this, cease and desist that. I said, it's too late. We've already released everything we got. There's no cease and desist in anything. And then Pine Gap said, yes, we're back in operation. But their mandate is the joint U.S.-British defense of outer space. And they mean outer space. They don't mean the inner planets. They mean outer space. Anything coming in from outside of our solar system, that's what they're talking about. And they're not talking about rocks. They're talking about beings. So this is how you know something weird went on. Ronald Reagan instituted Star Wars, which they were building lasers way too big to shoot down missiles. Matter of fact, we've seen a couple of these lasers. They were taking these UFO dish-shaped things that were a quarter mile across and setting them on top of this laser and superheating them up and shooting them into space. That wasn't even classified. They were doing that with the Star Wars laser. And then, so he instituted Star Wars. He also instituted the Hart facility, which is using big lasers to pop big holes through the ionic sphere and some kind of weird communication device. Nobody knows what they're doing up there. And then, of course, he instituted Pine Gap, the British Joint Defense of Outer Space.
But Joe, let me ask you this. I mean,
and he said we're going to go to war with aliens 7 times.
But it seems to me that we have no chance. I mean, it just seems like anybody who can, if it is interstellar and not us from the future or whatever, but just imagine that it's interstellar. Anybody who can travel those distances, the technology is just so far in advance of what we have. We have no hope of winning.
We don't.
I mean, it's like us. It's like, you know, our Army and Air Force battling ancient Rome. I mean, you know, they would be helpless with our jets.
For that matter, it's ancient Rome battling the African nations.
Yeah,
it's just there's no chance. And if anything of what we've learned or seen anytime, we don't have a prayer. Even our best stuff, some of our new stuff, which nobody likes to talk about. You know, we got the new Mana craft, which is a new fighter jet that can go outside the atmosphere and come back inside the atmosphere. It's going to be our new Gen 6 fighters is what it's going to be. They're badass, but they're not going to take on aliens. And they may even have lasers on board, but they're still not going to take on aliens. I mean, from what the reports we've got from World War II and even from modern day pilots today flying F-22s and F-35 saying, oh, we can't do, you know, the closest thing we have today that can fly like the Foo Fighters did or like the UFOs do today are drones. And I only mean in the way they maneuver. As far as the speeds go, there's just not even in the thing. I mean, one of the Navy pilots, I remember him talking about this in front of Congress. He said, well, what do you estimate the speed at? He said, well, they went from 0 to the edge of the plane in, I don't know, 0.01 second. He said, that's got to be somewhere close to light speed inside our atmosphere. He said, there's just no way. He said, they're going so fast that it makes it look like a doorway opening and closing, which may be going on as far as we know. There may be some type of dimensional technology being used here. We don't know, but it does seem to be very advanced. But I always tell people the same thing. I said, if you're just getting into ufology, I said, don't start now. It's too confusing when you start now. I said, it goes back to the ancient world. I said, remember, there's only been things flying in our skies for 200 years. That's it. And that's when the hot air balloon started, like 17, whatever. I said, from that point backwards, you're going to see a lot of things that had been seen in the sky. I said, look at a lot of the ancient artwork. Look at a lot of the Christian artwork. You're going to find stuff flying around all over the skies. Now, remember, we had nothing back then that could fly in the skies. The Egyptians talk about it. The Sumerians talk about it. The Dogon talk about it. All of the Mesoamericans talk about it. The Native Indians talk about it. This is all before there was anything flying in the sky but birds. So they pretty much proved that somebody's been visiting the planet or something has been for a long time. And then Boeing got in trouble because No, Lockheed got in trouble because they released a picture of the Dark Knight satellite.
Mm.
So the Russians put the first picture of this satellite out in, oh God, it was like 61 or something. It was accidental. It got out. And there's a satellite, it's parked in geostationary orbit above the pole and has been there for, as best anybody can tell, for at least 15,000 years or longer. But it's just been sitting there. It's nothing we have. They don't mess with it for some reason. Nobody says why they don't mess with it. They don't approach it, which means somebody approached and got shot down. I've
Do you
had.
think we're ever going to know what's going on, Joe? I mean, were they ever going to
We
tell us?
will. We will eventually, but right now we're just too young. I mean, if you look at the planet, even if you look at America, so today, thanks to Congress, we've broke the 50% margin on people thinking that there's life in the universe. So about 65% of Americans think there's life in the universe, but only 30% think that they may even be visiting the planet. Worldwide, that's even lower. So what happens is in the religious sector, which is about 78 to 80% of the world these days, they want to make this out to be something else. Oh, it's a demon, or it's a devil. The devil's flying UFOs. Oh, that just confuses me because I don't know why the devil wants to fly UFOs. He gets plenty enough recognition in his own. I really don't think he needs to be dressing up like an alien. Frankly, I think the demon would be scarier than the alien anyway, so I'm not sure why they would do that. But so I mean, you've got to deal with that kind of stuff, and then you've got to deal with a whole different realm of what people are going to try to make it out to be. And I tell everybody the same thing. We know something's visiting the planet, so judge them by their actions. Have they enlightened our planet? I said, well, look around. We don't look to enlighten people. Have they destroyed our planet? Well, no, they haven't. So obviously they're not here to enlighten us or to destroy us. So what are they actually here for? To just observe? Maybe. But then you've got weird things that have happened to our society in the past. You know, we've managed to interbreed with 4 or 5 other, Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal. There's like 5 races, I think, or maybe even 6 if you count some of the ones from South America, that eventually we all bred into to sort of create the race that's here today. But the Sumerians don't say that. Sumerians say it happened a whole different way. And the Sumerians said reptilians used to come down, steal their women, rape them, and bring their women back, and they would have babies, and the babies were different. Not meaning they looked different, they acted differently. Well, guess what? Every human on this planet has a reptilian section in his brain, and it is the section that makes us question things. Without it, we'd all be little zombies just walking around doing what we're told. So, things like that ring true in the fact that, okay, here's an ancient race talking about something that they had no idea if it was even possible. And here we are in science today knowing, oh my God, it is possible because we have that reptilian section of our brain. But there's also the blood thing. So until 40,000 years ago, everybody on this planet was brown-eyed, brown-skinned, brown hair, O positive or RH positive blood. That's all there was. There was no RH negative. There was just RH positive. There was no green or blue eyes. It was just brown eyes, brown hair, and brown skin for 2 million years. And then all of a sudden, 20 to 40,000 years ago, nobody knows why, RH negative popped up on the scene. We started having mutations. We know O negative is the purest form of blood known to man and the universal donor, but yet RH negative kills babies. Until they invented the anti-denogen G gene, you used to have to get a blood test to get married because it was a good chance your baby would be stillborn. So Mother Nature didn't create that. She's not going to create something that kills babies. That didn't even make any sense. So now you have something that started in our society that shouldn't be as high as it is. It's at 15, almost 16% now. And in the beginning, we know it was killing babies, and lots of babies, because the plus gene attacked the negative gene.
Mm-hmm.
And it killed it. So, I mean, we know this. This is science fact. This isn't even speculation. We know that's just how that works. So, but somehow with all that going on, it still managed to gain a foothold in this planet at 15% and growing. They estimate in another 300-400 years, it'll be 30%. In 10,000 years, it may be 70%. How's it forcing the RH positive people out, and why? And why, more importantly, do the RH negative people not share the Rhesus gene with the RH positive people? So is it a separate species? Well, according to science, it's not, but we don't share those genes. So something's screwy Louie somewhere. Plus, RH negative people are different than RH positive people. That's just science fact. What's that, Chris? I have no idea why. I maybe something interfered in our population because we needed to expand. So as we grew as a society, we would be a healthier society. I would imagine if we'd have just stayed with one blood type and in the direction we would have headed, eventually it would have caused health issues on our planet. But having three blood types and both negative and positive gives us a much broader base for mutations to grow as we move forward. That's the only thing I can think. I'm not a scientist. I do have a degree in science, but I'm not a scientist. It's I've talked to many of them though. Oh yeah, I've talked to many scientists about this. If you ever get a chance to talk to Dr. Paul, I think it's Paul. I never pronounce his last name, but he's the cosmic pulse guy. He's a theoretical physicist, just like Michio Kaku and Neil deGrasse Tyson. I have talked to both of those, and they were both interesting. Yes, they were. They love to talk. I mean, they really do. So no, Jack. So I was going to call him Richard. Douglas actually does near now sci-fi, which one of my favorites. No, I'll ask him. So Samantha's asking, do you have any of your own favorite near now sci-fi TV series? Oh, I don't know. That's an interesting question.
TV series.
See, he's a reader though. He's not probably a watcher.
Yeah, you caught me off guard with that one. I'm trying to think. Near future series. Wow, I'm drawing a blank right now, but I'm sure I do have one if I really sit down for and think about what I watch.
So,
go ahead.
No,
I just I watch. And there's so much out there right now. I don't remember what I watched last week. I mean, there's infinite number of series on Netflix and
there's
Apple,
a lot.
Amazon and all the other different services. That it starts to get to be a blur. It's kind of nice because at my age, 2 years later, you can watch the same series and you're still surprised.
I tell that to my wife all the time. I said, I don't remember that series. I was watching Babylon 5 a couple of weeks ago. I said, I don't remember none of this. And I know I've seen it before. So.
No, I am a huge fan of Star Trek. I've always been a huge fan of Star Trek, for sure. I mean, who is
good? Yeah, I mean, most people are. It's Jimmy, right now, well, I'm not watching anything right now, but the last ones I watched at near now was the Mars series, which was because they used Mars colonization along with real scientists to talk about how it was going to happen. It was like a combination of things. I did like Altered Carbon, even though it was only 2 seasons. It was a good series, but it's not a series for children. There's a lot of misbehaving in there is all I can say. A lot of nakedness, but the science is good. It's good, solid science, and it's just about a chip they put in the back of your head that if you die, you can upload that into another body. That's the basis of it. It just shows you what will happen, and after you had been doing that for people who have been living for 3 and 5 and 700 years and accumulating all this wealth, what they would become. That's basically what the series says. And then there's the one on Amazon. I can't think of the name of it now. That's just based on right now science. That's what it is. Building rockets to move around the solar system, colonizing Mars, colonizing the asteroid belts, things like that. And Mars and the belters and Earth getting into arguments and stuff. And then a little bit of outside problem with some blue plasma shit that came from another galaxy. Yeah, I don't know why I can't think of the name of it. Yes. And I've watched it many times. It's a good series. It is. It's on Amazon. Yeah. It was on Sci-Fi, but Sci-Fi was going to fold it up at 4 seasons or 3 seasons, and Netflix bought it. I mean, not Netflix, Amazon bought it and gave it another 3. The Expanse, that's what it is. The Expanse, yeah. It's a decent series to watch. As far as who portrayed our future the closest, that's Babylon 5, hands down. I wish Star Trek would be the one, but it's going to be Babylon 5, hands down. With the exception of how we're going to travel in deep space. I don't know if we're going to use gates or if we're going to use light speeds or whatever. But the way we're going to build colonies and deal with other races, that's bringing Earth's politics to the galaxy is what that is. Yes, the exact way it would be. So it's one of the other reasons. It's because, there's some really good science in there because they got the spider people and Vorlons and all kind of ancient aliens and stuff, and then the humans. It's an interesting series. It's a 5-year series, yeah. But I like anything because I don't get to read as much as I used to. So I tell people all the time, if you got audiobooks, send them to me because I'm always looking for something new when it comes to near now sci-fi. What's that, Jimmy? Well, he's asking if you got any favorite movies you like.
Favorite science fiction movies or just movies in general?
He didn't say. He just said, "Does he have any movies he likes?" What do you want to specify? Oh, you don't care. Okay, he just wanted to know if you had any movies you like. That's all he posted.
Yeah.
That could be
Yeah,
a long list, man.
it's like a blur though. Let me think. I mean, obviously the classics like Back to the Future and Groundhog Day and The Fugitive. I'm an old guy, so those were classics for me. In terms of like science fiction movies that I really love. I mean, I like any of them. I mean, like they had one recently with Chris Pratt, and he goes to there's a future war, and he gets drafted to go into the future.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah, my wife made me watch. I can't remember the name of it. It was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, all of this stuff is pretty decent. I mean, special effects now are so darn good. There's so much they can do that they didn't used to be able to do. So yeah, I mean, I watch a ton of it, and that's really the problem. I watch so much of it, I can't really, my brain has got it. When I'm caught off guard to really pick, 5 or 10 out, it's difficult. But
yeah, it's hard to do. It's
for
me.
I can't even
There's
pick
a lot of
favorite.
stuff I like the same. I think that's one of the problems too. You get kind of blanched out on. What's that, Michael? No, I keep most Star Treks around when I get bored. I may watch some Star Treks or some Stargate. I can't watch anything at night after say like 11. That's gonna that I'm interested in because I'll just stay awake and watch it. So I can put on like some old Star Trek or some old Stargate or something like that, and then it'll usually put me to night. It's no, I like all Star Treks. Favorite episodes? I don't. Oh, you mean in rank which Star Treks I like the best? I don't know, but I can tell you Discovery's last. Even though I think Discovery was good sci-fi, I just thought it was lousy Star Trek. So that's the difference.
Yeah.
Strange New Worlds. I don't know. We'll give it another season, and then we'll see where it's going to sit.
Yeah.
And Scott Bakula was kind of big for Enterprise, and he was kind of a big star for a Star Trek series.
Yeah.
It was a good series. It was fun to watch, and I mean they were all fun to watch. It was interesting to see Picard his first time, after not seeing any real Star Trek but movies. Oh, you mean the series Picard? I don't know. What other series? It was Discovery, Picard, and something else. They were watching at the time. I mean, Picard's okay. I mean, the last one's good because it brings all the old guys back together. I wish they would do one with 7 and 9. She was pretty badass in that.
I think they are. I think they are doing
I heard. Yeah, I heard there was, but I haven't seen anything about it.
I think it's coming. I'm pretty sure I read that it's coming.
I remember reading about it, but
Yeah.
what do you mean? Why I don't think? Because Discovery's not Star Wars. I mean, it's not Star Trek. First off, that's not even how the Klingon War happened, so we don't even want to get into that. And pretty much that whole first and second series of episodes was just, and then come on, the Spore Drive. Never heard about that one either. They just took too many liberties for Star Trek fans. But I mean, if you wanted to watch sci-fi, it was good sci-fi. Berman was an all right captain. She just wasn't. She wasn't. She just wasn't one of the captains. Star Trek has a moral code built into it. They expect people to act a certain way, and for some reason, that particular version of Star Trek doesn't. And there's a lot of language they use in there that's not really acceptable for a lot of Star Trek fans. What, you mean cursing? Star Trek fans, believe it or not, don't really need cursing. They've had 14 movies and 9 series without cursing. I don't think they really need it. I don't think it's something they have to have.
Yeah, when I started writing novels, I used the F word because I thought that was kind of like, that's how real people talk. Real villains are going to say F you, whatever. I mean, but then I, about halfway through, I decided, this isn't necessary. I can, despite in real life, they might say that, why not appeal to the broadest audience possible? And some people do take offense. So I went back and at least on Kindle, it's really easy to change. And I took those words out. In the paperbacks, it's pretty hard to change, or the audio versions, obviously.
Yeah, it's hard to go back and change it. But I did notice a lot of sci-fi, what they did was instead of actually using the word, they just changed it to something
Yeah,
else, frick or frack or
I
whatever.
know. I know.
So I mean, I guess in a way it works. I don't pay that much attention to it because I know what they're doing, but that's like on what's the one that's out of Australia? The Jim Henson one, Farscape. It's
Yeah.
they tried that along the way. And what do you mean, G? I mean, Star Trek. I mean, Farscape wasn't a bad series. I mean, it just was a sci-fi series. I don't know if I could say it was great or horrible. It was just a series.
Definitely watchable.
Yeah, it was definitely watchable. And they had some good characters in there. I mean, they had some good stuff in there. Well, what do you mean? So did you like, all right, Bruce, did you like Stargate SG-1 better when MacGyver was the guy, or when the guy from Farscape was? Which guy you liked running SG-1 better? Yeah, I don't know why they didn't give it to Samantha either, but I guess at the time they didn't think they could do that. Well, I mean, you had the Colonel O'Neill, who was running it, and then you had the guy from Stargate, because Claudia Shepard and I can't remember his name were under contract with Sci-Fi because they had bought Farscape. Well, when they shut down Farscape, they didn't have anything to do with him. Neil, what's his name, wanted to retire, so they said they offered it to them, and they did 2 years. I think they did just as good a job as anybody else did. It was just a 10-year-old series. That's why. I mean, it wasn't much. I mean, how many times can you find a villain, fight it, kill it, and be victorious? I mean, it's all they did. I mean, that's what the series was about. I mean, it's what basically all of it. It's rare that you see a movie, a book, an audio book, or even a radio book where the villain comes out on top. It does happen, but it is rare.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Wesley Dean told me that one time about starting the end of your book first. I don't know if I could do that or not. I'd end up giving away too much of the damn book trying to explain what was going on. And I know you're supposed to just do the splash at the end of the book and start after that at the beginning, but I don't know. And by the way, if you're going to be a Writers of the Future winner, I will tell you this: those first 3 pages or 4 pages need to get the judge attention. Yes, they get a lot of people who submit to them, so you've got to get their attention. You've got to hook them with something that makes them want to read the rest of it. So remember, it's a short story, so it's not a lot of reading. I mean, what's the max? 17,000 words, I think. So it's a short story, and most people only use about 5,000 or 6,000 words anyway. So, but you need to hook them. You need to say, "Hey, I got you." You want to make them want to read that story, because if trust me this much, if you get one of the coordinating judges to read your story, there's a good chance when it goes in front of the judges, it has a much better chance of winning. Not going to say it will, but it has a much better chance of winning. Or getting a runner-up where they'll send you advice to tell you how to try to win next time. Yes, it's not a guarantee by any means. Brenda wants to know if you got something new coming out anytime soon, and can she find your works on the usual book places like Amazon and places like that?
Yeah, I mean, look me up on Amazon, Douglas E. Richards, and just, go read the synopses of, there's a bunch of them. And I think I gave you my bio. I don't know if you're going to post it anywhere, but it has a list of all of my books. There's about, 20 novels at this point. But I put a lot of effort.
Is that the one you sent to Carmen?
Yeah. And I put a lot of effort into each one. I mean, it's just an enormous amount of research. And they've been, they've been pretty successful. I mean, they tend to do pretty well, be pretty well reviewed. So people seem to like
don't give compliments often, so
yeah, John seems to really love them, so which is nice. So we'll see, and hopefully they'll make a couple movies. There's a couple of books now that are optioned and people are trying to make movies out of, so that would be kind of fun. Or Netflix series, whichever. But yeah, I mean, you asked like what my favorite movies are. I don't even know my own favorite books that I've written. I can't even tell you.
That's not good, man.
What should I read? Tell me which one I should read, and I have no idea. I mean, just look at the synopses and decide which one seems the most interesting to you.
What's going to jump out and grab you?
Yeah, but I cover. I mean, I write. They're pretty much just, they explore, crazy, great scientific advances and the impact on humanity, in the next 20 or 30 years. So it's like 20 or 30 years from now. Sometimes it's hard to keep ahead of real science. It's funny, when I started out, I thought, well, I'm being like too far out there. Oh, nobody's going to believe this. And I tell the story that a couple things that I studied developmental biology in graduate school. I have a master's in molecular biology. And one of the things that fascinated me the most was, how a fertilized egg becomes a human being. And when you think about it, I mean, so I would write about a nanotech, you throw a nanite into the ground and it gathers up whatever it needs to make more nanites, and it constructs more nanites, and pretty soon exponentially 1 becomes 2, and you got a trillion nanites, and then they make a television set. And so like in 1 hour, boom, they just take all the materials out of the ground and you've got a television set. And I thought, will anybody believe that that's possible? No, I mean, it's ludicrous. You can't do that with one little teeny microscopic nanite. But that's what happens in life. I mean, you have a sperm meets an egg, and they make copies of itself. And then at some point, the cells differentiate. Some of them know how to become eye cells, some know to become heart cells and brain cells. And they differentiate into this perfect organized pattern, including 100 billion neurons. And ultimately, you have a sentient human being out of a single cell, a single fertilized cell. It's able to create life and a human being with all of its complexity, which is a hell of a lot more impressive than a television set, from a single nano robot. So, I've really come a long way in terms of what I think is possible. One other thing, when I was in molecular biology a long time ago, like 40 years ago, when I was in a PhD program, I ended up with a master's. I was sequencing DNA as part of my project, and it was painstaking. I mean, it would take a long time. If I was sequencing this 300 base pair stretch of DNA, and it would take me a long, long time. Yeah. And if you would have asked me at the time, how long before mankind can sequence 1 billion base pairs in a day, I would have said never. I would have said like at the speed of light, like it can never, that's impossible. The physics won't allow you to sequence 1 billion base pairs of DNA in a day. And now we do it routinely. Technology, so it's just amazing. So like, my book, the one that has 4 books called, starts with Mind's Eye. It's Nick Hall is the hero, the Nick Hall series. Anyway, that is a guy, I wrote it like 8 years ago. Guy wakes up in a dumpster and he finds out he's got a computer chip implanted in his brain, and he's lost his memory, but he knows that he can read minds perfectly and he can surf the web with his thoughts. Okay. And at the time there was a lot of, work being done where guys could control like cursors on a video game with their thoughts. You could kind of convert the electricity in the brain into, the thoughts that you use into stuff. And now it's reality. I mean, people can dictate like 95% accuracy. You can just like dictate a book in your mind, and you've got sensors that'll read that and convert it. And now with Neuralink, one of the Elon Musk companies that's implanting a chip in the brain, and the guys who are doing the movie, they're calling me and going, wait a minute, is there, we need to make this a little bit farther in the future because, now this isn't science fiction anymore. And I was like, wow, when I wrote it, I thought it would be 50 years before they'd get there. So, it's getting hard to stay ahead of actual science.
Oh, it is. I mean, I know this is in the 90s sometimes. So the government was asking about, is there a way to upload our consciousness into another body? So a gentleman decided, he took a chip, and I was like 95, 96, and he put it in his brain. And the experiment was, could he get any memories onto the chip and get it out and retrieve them? So he put the chip in his head. He kept it in there, I think, for about a year. When he pulled it out, it had about 1/3 of his memories on it. It had been stored there. It was still in his head, but it was now on the chip as well. So now this isn't your consciousness. This isn't the person you are, but this is a big start. So if you can make a complete copy of your brain and just lay it into another one, because we can grow clone bodies. That's not that big of a thing to grow a complete clone.
They're 3D printing tissue right now.
And they are 3D printing meat right now for us to eat. So I mean, it's getting a little weird out there.
Just to finish. Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go
I was going to say that just to finish the thought of the premise of, he wakes up in a dumpster without a memory and has these capabilities, and everybody's trying to kill him. So suddenly, like, everybody's trying to kill him, and he has no idea what's going on. He's kind of like stumbling around trying to figure out how to survive. And you know, it makes sense because if you could read minds perfectly, you know, you could just go up to a politician and read their mind. Think about all of the dirt that you could uncover instantly, to enough to ruin them, blackmail them. So all these powerful people around the world want him dead because he can read their mind, and that's like the biggest nightmare for, you know, a lot of powerful people. So that's kind of the premise, just to finish the, you know, what the premise is for, you know, for the audience.
Little black aliens. You know, it's this is an alien in my lap, people. It just comes here once it hangs out. That's one of its friends behind me back there that wouldn't behave.
I think,
But it's you know, it's funny you bring that up because I remember when they used to talk about Ed Dames and the remote viewing programs. And then I used to tell people all the time, I said, well, why do you need a remote viewer if you have somebody who's a telepath? Telepathy gets a lot more information than remote viewing does. I mean, remote viewing will see a location or something like that, but someone who has telepathy can not only tell you the location, they can see through the person's eyes. If they're typing in the code on that nuclear launch, you now have that code, as well as the location. So I remember it was 2000, the U.S. Navy, U.S. Air Force came out and said they were discontinuing their old programs and getting rid of the remote viewing, and they are now actively seeking telepaths. If you'd like to be tested. Now, one of the organizations I work with, we do tests for telepathy, and it's not real hard. And people get really mad about me about this because they always tell me, oh, everybody has these abilities. I'm like, really? I don't believe that, but sure, if you want to say that. So we do easy tests. We'll go to the mall. We'll ask for permission to go to the mall, and we'll put up a big sign, would you like to be tested for psychic abilities or telepathic abilities, what we actually write. And I'll do an easy card test. I'll take 2 cards out. I'll even sometimes let the person pick the cards out, even though they can't see them. And I'll look at them, you know, red and green, blue and yellow. Okay, if you're a telepath, you should know what these colors are on these cards. So most of the time, most people won't even get them right about 38% of the time. So, and this is an experiment, ladies and gentlemen. Take a quarter and flip it and guess what it is. Most times you will not even get it 50-50. Don't ask me why. It's just a weird thing in the universe. But a true telepath will always get it more than 50. They'll usually get it 80, some even 100%. I've had people test that were 100% accurate. And then all of a sudden you can't find these people anymore. More than likely they have been recruited to work for government. So in the old days, we used to make the test public. We don't anymore, but we still do testing because, you know, it's one of the things we look for. If anybody who says they've had contact, I would think that anybody trying to contact us from another world would want to contact somebody that was telepathic to start off with. Telekinesis doesn't exist. You want me to prove it to you, Mr. John? I'm not saying it won't exist. I'm saying it doesn't truly exist today. You want to know why? Is Vladimir Putin still alive? Is Xi Jinping still alive? Is Kim Jong-un still alive? Is Donald Trump still alive? No. If anybody had the ability for telekinesis, that means they could squeeze an artery in your brain through thought, kill you dead, and make it look like it was a natural cause. Let me tell you what, anybody who had the technology would be taking over the planet. We just haven't reached that stage of evolution yet.
Yeah.
We're still the babies.
Telepathy in this book isn't just kind of surface thoughts. This guy could like delve into like he owned your memory. He could remember anything that you remembered. So all your bank codes, all your hidden secrets.
That's good.
And it was like perfect telepathy. I mean, just 1,000% perfect. And what's really interesting about that is it would be a nightmare. And that's what I explore in the book. I mean, yeah, people are trying to kill him, but can you imagine? You don't want to know what people are thinking about. I mean, you know, when your kid comes home and they have this crappy painting and you say, oh my God, honey, that's beautiful. We'll hang it up on the refrigerator. And in your mind, you're going, wow, that's horrible. You know, you don't want to, you know, I don't think anybody could stay married for more than a week. If
telepathy is something we're going to have to earn because we have to get to 2 things we got to learn to do. One, not hate when we hear something or sense something. And 2, learn how to block out the majority of it. Because if you're just walking down any ordinary street and you're a telepath, you're hearing everything around you. God knows what half these people are thinking about.
Mostly nasty.
Most of it you're not going to want to know.
Yeah, and a lot of it's nasty thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is.
Imagine if you're like, you know, super heavy or, you know, whatever. I mean, you know, I think people aren't all that kind in their heads. I mean, they might be kinder what they voice. But, you know, I just think there's a lot of people have, you feel like your thoughts are you know, are private.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
and then also sexual thoughts. Can you imagine being, a really pretty girl walking down the street?
I know. I'd be in prison.
Yeah, I mean, I think a
Half the
lot of men.
guys I know would be, not just that, half the women I know would be in
Yeah,
prison.
I mean, it would be
Oops,
rough,
sorry.
right? I mean,
I'd
it
be
would,
in trouble. I'd be
yeah,
like,
that would be
ooh,
kind of
goddamn, is
scary,
she
but
hot? Oh, wait, no, wasn't thinking about you. Just thinking about somebody else.
exactly.
Oh, man.
So
So,
it's a good thing we don't have telepathy.
yeah.
Is what I'm
So, I
saying.
mean, eventually we'll get there. I mean, but it will take time. Like I said, we'll have to learn, one, how not to be touchy, and two, well, one, we'll have to learn that we're going to be openly honest society, which is a good society, but this one's not ready for that yet. And then we'll have to learn how to block it out, because the noise itself would get to be too much. Because remember, people, if you're listening all the time, you're going to be hearing. It'd be like if you heard something in your ear 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop, not just one thing, hundreds of things. And telepathy doesn't have a range. So when you relax, God knows how far you could go out and pick up. There
Yeah.
is no range to as far as they know, and all the education I've seen on this, all the science I've seen on this says there is no range to telepathy. So it's more up to the person than it is anything else. I mean, just think about it. You're living in New York City, and everybody in your building you can now hear. Can you live that? No way.
In this novel, I mean, people are trying to kill him because the powerful don't want their minds read, but they also want to get it for themselves. So they want to figure out why it happened this way, what the chip in his brain is doing and how it's working, so they can get it and become all powerful. So, so I thought, so that's kind of the premise for the whole series. And
that's a good series. I mean, that's fun stuff to do.
yeah, it's been really successful. I mean, I think it's got, I don't know, probably like 80,000 reviews on Amazon.
Oh, that's nice, man. That's doing
total.
well there.
Yeah, it's been good. And it's been fun. So like I say, I've done 4 of those, but so if anybody's asking, like what, that's a good one to start with, I guess. It's not as far out as some of the science fictional. And what I was just commenting on was it's actually, almost real today, given what's going on in real science.
Yeah, I don't think near now sci-fi has to be that far ahead. I mean, I know people like me, I really enjoy it. And I can live with someone who can write something that might be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years. Because once you pass 100 years, to me, it's not near now sci-fi anymore. It's a little bit,
Right.
It's a little bit more like middle now sci-fi. But I mean, if you're in that first 50 years, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, because we are moving fast. I mean, science is moving really fast. And it's like people writing about robots back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Today, that's all real technology. And actually, it's even better than that technology.
Yeah, one of the novels that I wrote that is also being optioned into a possible movie called Infinity Born, and it's about artificial superintelligence. And I wrote this, 4 or 5 years back, where you have you get to a certain point where artificial intelligence kind of self-evolves and can go through like billions of generations of evolution like instantly, because they think at the speed of computers, which is practically the speed of light. So it's a million times faster than human thought. And you could have, so what if you get runaway evolution, where you have a artificial intelligence that can make a better version, and that can make a better version, and that can make a better version, and within no time you have this almost godlike intelligence. And what would that mean for humanity? How could we battle it? So that was a whole novel I wrote, and again, this is one that's optioned into for the movie rights. And I had no idea that things like Grok or Chat GPT or any of these things were coming along. And I know that they're large language models and they're not really sentient and whatever, but I have to tell you, they're incredibly impressive and decades sooner than I thought they'd ever come.
And we don't know when something might become sentient. So that's the problem. When you keep feeding it data and data and data and data, you don't know if something might trigger along the way. So, and we are building, Japan and China both are building bodies, robot bodies at an alarming rate, and they're getting very sophisticated. It's pretty soon. Japan said within 30 years, you won't be able to tell the difference between one of theirs and a real person. They said what's going to make a difference will be the AI technology. Will it be able to interact like a true person without glitches and bitches and liches? I guess after time it will.
What worries me is, when we're going to be left in the dust. We're going to be like, they're going to think of us as we think of ants in terms of intelligence. I mean, where they're going to be so far beyond us. And so we're going to be totally at their mercy. And, I'm not trying to be an alarmist. I mean, they may be benevolent, but they could be not benevolent. Who the hell knows how they're going to be? I mean, the thing about biological life that I point out in the novel is that biological life all had to evolve. You need, in order for biological life to evolve, you need to attract a mate, right? You have to have cooperation because biological organisms are weak and frail and easily killed. So, they have to forge groups. Animals forge groups so they can protect each other. They have to attract a mate. But if you have runaway AI evolution, they don't need anything but themselves. They don't need to cooperate. They evolve without any need to cooperate with anybody, and they've never been frail, where they need to seek out food all the time. So God only knows how they end up. I mean, do they end up kind of like psychopathic tendencies if they were really kind of, who knows? And I mean, I guess there's nothing at this point. Whatever happens, it doesn't seem like we're going to put a limiter on them.
Not yet, anyway. We're talking about it, though. We are talking about it.
Yeah, but
there's a lot of alarmists out there right now. A matter of fact, I was at one of the fireside chats the other day with two of the senators were talking, and he said something, and I said, well, I said, we all grew up with these sci-fi movies where the AI took over and nuked us all off the planet or wiped us out. I said, let's not forget about the Matrix series. I said, there's lots of stuff out there that shows, lots of sci-fi that shows how we can end up due to AI. So we need to be careful with it.
Right.
It's sooner or later, it will be a sentient program, and we need to limit its access to what it's going to be part of. As far as people, and that's the other thing, I'm already watching weirdo people starting relationships with AI bots online.
Yeah.
Okay, people, it's not real. I'm just don't get mad at me, but what's going to happen is sooner or later they'll be able to take what they've got online and put it into a body, and then you'll have. So what's going to happen? Are we just going to stop breeding? Are we just one day going to find there's 5 humans on the planet, and not even through any error by AI, just because we like the AI better than human interaction? I don't know, people. It's a scary thought.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that scares me about, I used to always be very, very optimistic that our technology could get us out of anything. That we have such ingenuity, and when the sky is falling, it really isn't, because we'll figure it out. And the story I've told on a million shows, so people who've heard me before have heard the stories. It's kind of an apocryphal story. In 1850, New York was growing at an incredible pace, and so the city mayor decided, let's do a study of what it's going to be like in 75 years. Let's extrapolate. And so the experts came back and they said, we're screwed. In 75 years, because of the growth of population is going to be so massive, that the entire city is going to be knee deep in horse manure. And there's nothing we can do about it, because we're going to need so many horses to travel around the city. I mean, there's no way out of it. And obviously, I love that story, because obviously that was never a problem because we invented the car. But at the time, none of these futurists could imagine something like a self-sustaining driving vehicle. So the only way they can just imagine what they have right now, how many horses you need per person, and how many people, and how many, do the math, and you have knee deep in horse manure. And obviously 75 years later, horse manure wasn't a problem at all, because there were almost no horses in New York. So I always thought, well, this is a great example of how we always think our way out of problems. But now technology is the problem. I mean, technology, the divisiveness, the 24/7 sky is falling, the social media, the toxicity and all that stuff. So that's really what is scaring me now. And I'm leading to this point to tie back into what you were saying, is that we have all these geniuses out there who are working on better and better ways to addict us to these technologies. I mean, so really brilliant people are trying to figure out on Facebook, how do you make the color more addictive? How do you make the like more addictive, or the chime, or the, whatever. All these people, they want your eyeballs. That's how they make money. They want you to be addicted to your phone. They want you to be addicted to Instagram or whatever is TikTok. And people they're becoming more and more addictive. And so if you can imagine what you were saying, you have this, beautiful robot that they figure out how to make feel just like a human being. So a beautiful woman beyond your wildest dreams, who feels like a human being, who has a, wonderful voice, and now is made to learn your preferences and everything, in personality, in the bedroom. And you have, these geniuses behind it who work these algorithms. and you could easily imagine, just like you're addicted to your phone, how could you not be addicted to this beautiful artificial woman who is precisely, their brain is programmed to always laugh at your jokes, say the right thing. It'll be a problem.
It's going to be a problem. I have no doubt. I mean, video games are already a problem. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at the younger millennials and the X Geners, and the millennials were bad, the older millennials were bad too. But I mean, well, the younger X Geners were pretty bad, but they've kind of got off of it now. The younger millennials and the Z Geners themselves, that's what they want to do. They don't want to do anything but game. They don't want to get a job. They don't want to do anything. So this is to put things in perspective. This year, a bunch of companies went out and hollered Z Gener graduations, right? I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of people they hired. All of them got fired. All of them. So many of these companies, even Google came out and said, we're not going to do any hiring from college for the next 5 years. That's how bad the recruiting was. So they got these people. One, they wanted to work from home. Two, they thought they should be making $50 and $60 an hour for doing God knows what, probably answering phones. It's just and then they thought they should have X amount of time off, and they should have breaks every 2 hours. And no, that's not the real world. You were living in some fantasy world. The real world is you go to work for 8 hours, maybe 10 hours. If you got a decent job, if you got a hard job, you won't work more than that.
Well, what's interesting, Joe, is that's the exact opposite. That's why we have so many psychological problems. So mental health is such a big issue right now. One of the reasons is we have too much time on our hands, a lot of people. And what people fail to realize, I studied the science of happiness a lot over my career. And one aspect of it is that leisure time is your enemy. I mean, boredom is the worst thing that can happen to a human being. When you're bored, you're anxious. You're thinking about the worst case scenario of everything. I mean, when a lion's just made a kill and is just fed and they're sunning themselves in the savannah, they don't have a care in the world. Okay, they're in the now. They're living in the moment. But a human being, no matter how good things are, if you're alone for too long, you wonder, have I saved enough for retirement in 30 years? Hey, are my stocks doing well? You're always worried about something. Okay, so the anxiety is off the charts. But when you do something that is called flow of activities, where you're really focused on it and you're concentrating, you're challenging yourself, you feel like you've accomplished something, then you're not self-conscious. You're not worried. You're focused on the task at hand. And so what people are finding is, people bitch about being at work. Oh, I wish I could have I wish I had $1 billion and I could just lay on the beach all year long. It would drive you crazy. And actually, when you analyze it, people are happiest a lot of times at work when they're doing productive things, even though they don't realize it. And they're the least happy when they have endless downtime and they don't realize it. So it's like we want the very thing that's the worst for us. Like you said, those college students who want, endless vacation, get paid, they want all this work-life balance and stuff. I mean, part of that is very important, but to some extent, I think that's why when you have a lot of time to gaze at your navel and worry about, every single problem and be anxious about everything, I think human beings are not kind of evolved for that kind of existence. And I think that's something that contributes to the mental health situation.
We're gonna have to do something because it's definitely getting weird out there. I remember when I was growing up, 2 weeks vacation was a long time. Now you get 3, 5, 6, 7 weeks a year. I'm like, Jesus, what? I said, I'm working for the wrong people, man. 7, almost all the tellers I know at my bank all get 5, 6 weeks a year. I'm like, how many weeks? Plus they get like 10 days of this, and I'm like, oh my God, I own my own business. I'm gonna have to go work for somebody. I'd be better off, man. Lord have mercy.
Well,
I don't know where all that came from.
Well, but they do studies, and I'm sure you're familiar with this. I'm positive, that people who continue working or they're mentally active after they retire, they live. It's like the studies basically show that once you stop working or you just kind of lie around, you die pretty quickly after that.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I mean, you really, if you keep busy and you keep accomplishing things and challenging yourself, you have something to wake up for every day.
Well, I never could sit still. I was never good at sitting still. It drives my wife crazy. She's like, I'm like, I can't, like when we're off, like this time of year, we were really busy up until COVID hit. And since then, we've been kind of slow. So I got the station keeps me busy, but I'll have to go find something to do in my house or go walk because I
Oh
live
yeah.
by the beach, so it's nice. I mean, and where I live is nice. I mean, I can take a walk with the dogs or something, go hang out. I got to watch my dogs. I got hawks and eagles and osprey
Mm.
live around here and bobcats and shit. But and you seen how big my dog was, and it's strange. But I never. And John will tell you. John knows me well. He knows I can't sit still. Even when I'm in LA, I'll usually go spend 8 days out there with him. I'll usually start around 8, and I'll usually wrap up around 3 or 4 in the morning. And I'll get up the next morning, have breakfast. I usually, catch up with John, say hi, unless we were out drinking or something, and then I might sleep a little later. But it's just who I am. I just can't sit still, and I've never been able to sleep late. My problem was when I was young. I used to like to work nights. I could sleep all during the daytime. But I just don't sleep well in the daytime. Usually, if I try sleeping late like today, I say, all right, I was up till 4. I was up at 8. That's like,
Mm.
all right, let's go find something to do. Let's go cook breakfast, go to the grocery store. Let's go do something, man. I got to go do something. No, Jeffrey, we're way over, but I'll let y'all get one more question. No, well, I was having a good time talking with Doug. And yeah, we're half hour over, but
Oh, sorry.
no, you're all right. Just not your fault. It's my big mouth. Um, what do you got, Jennifer? And where are you from? New York City. Well, how you doing up in New York? Cold up there? Yeah, it's cold up there. I heard it's been snowing up there in New York. And no, it's usually a question I'll ask. So I'll ask him. Jennifer from New York City, who says it's freezing her, what's off, says, I can't mention that on this show. I keep telling you, we don't curse on this show. Oh, the only show I can curse on is News on the Flip Side. I host 5 shows in this network, and that's the only one. In the whole 30 year or the whole 24 years I was doing UFO Undercover Wake Up USA, I did not curse, not even one time.
Huh.
Not even once. I can go without cursing if I have to. I'm a sailor at heart still. I got that Navy stuck in the back of my head. God dang it, people. But anyway, she just wants to know what got you into writing. What was it? Was it something when you were a kid, something you seen or heard, or did you see someone that maybe was a mentor or something?
No, I mean, I've always loved reading. I mean, I used to have a nose in a book all the time. And I don't know, I just thought I'd try it one time. And, I wrote a few pages and then I read it and I thought, wow, this sounds actually okay. I mean, it sounds like something you might read a professional doing. And I was like really surprised, like, I'll try to keep doing this. And, I mean, when the real reason I started, though, to back up just a little bit, I started with kids books, like for ages 9 and older, because I had kids of my own. And there's a lot of fantasy stuff out there, like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But you look around for like accurate science fiction for kids. There isn't any, really. I mean, at least I didn't find any. I looked
No,
very
they're
hard.
not anymore anyway. There used to be, but not anymore.
Like Danny Dunn, and there was, there was all this what I used to watch. But anyway, I couldn't find any for my kids, so I said, I'll try to write this. So the first books I wrote were kids novels, and I thought, wow, I seem to be doing pretty well, and they were pretty well received. The kids loved them, and so that really got me started. Basically trying to write hard science fiction for my own kids. And then I tried an adult novel, and the adult novels were so successful. Wired became the New York Times bestseller and USA Today bestseller. And I had a biotech career. I was an executive at several biotech companies and director of biotech licensing at Bristol Myers Squibb, et cetera, in a past life. And I was just kind of doing this on the side. And then when Wired went viral and became a New York Times and USA Today bestseller, I was out earning what I was making as an executive by a lot.
Oh yeah.
Now I had plenty of time, so I quit. That was like 2011. I quit, and I've been writing full time ever since. But again, and then I couldn't go back to the kids' books, unfortunately, because the adult books just did. There was such a clamoring for them that I kind of felt forced to keep doing the adult books because it was a bigger audience.
Yeah, and you got to probably a little bit more freedom with the adult books than you do with the children's books.
Yeah,
but I do notice. I do notice most writers, and it's funny. Not just most writers, but a lot of illustrators try to write kids books. Some are okay. I mean, some do okay. Some not so much. But it is kind of weird because when I'm interviewing illustrators, a lot of times they'll tell me, "I'd like to write a kids book." I'm like, well, okay, well, go for it. I've talked to a lot of writers that have wrote kids books mainly because they have children, like you just said. and some are okay, some not so good. But it's going to vary from person to person. It's not in everybody's skill set. And
Well, some of the kids'
yeah,
books that you're talking about, I mean, they're like for like 1 or 2 year olds that, they're picture books,
yeah,
especially the illustrators, because they have lavish, and these were, kind of like Harry Potter, but for science fiction. So they're not, adults have really told me they like them a lot. So they're not quite as, young as some of the people do. But still, it was pretty wild that's what started me off, and it's really worked out.
yes. Oh, Jeffrey, mentioning that, I'm glad you brought that up. I did see we may get my Jetson car before I die. I can't actually believe it. If not, we're going to get one that looks just like the one of the shuttlecraft from one of the Enterprise movies. Yeah, so I seen it yesterday. This one's a one seater. It's got 4 props on it. It's a forward facing looking thing. It's like it stands up and looks forward, and there's 2 sets of blades in the front, 2 sets of blades in the back raised. It flies nice, man. It's a flying car, is what it is. And now they got a couple of them with wheels on them. To get more and more out there. We might yet see flying cars before the end of our term.
I mean,
Uh,
Elon just
that
mentioned that.
just scares.
Elon was
Elon's
mentioning,
in everything.
yeah, but he was mentioning, yeah, that just wait. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him to enter that market next. And when he enters a market, he tends to do pretty well.
He does do well. The only car company in the world that gives him any trouble at all is the Chinese electric car market, and they're doing fabulous. They're hurting everybody. But Trump said he's going to put 50% tariffs on their cars, so then Tesla will be really the only one doing good here.
Yeah.
And I mean, and all the other cars that are making electric cars, but no, Jack, I'm not into electric cars because they have to use, well, usually cold or natural gas to run their charging station. So it's really defeating the purpose of having an electric car. You don't have to take my word for it. You go look, find a charging station anywhere in the United States, find it, track it back to its electrical source, and then track that electrical source to its what makes it. And you're going to find more than likely either nuclear power, natural gas, or coal. Yeah, we don't have any plants yet that generate electricity yet. I mean that from other means.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't got there yet. We have the technology. Tesla invented it, but we can't use it because it can't be metered. So they can put big panels in space and beam the electrician directly to your house if they wanted to, but they can beam it directly to a station, which can turn a turbine and create electricity basically for free.
Hmm.
But sending it to your house the way it would have to be sent over the airwaves, there is no way to meter it. That's why it didn't get put out the first time. Remember, Tesla's the one who invented. He didn't invent electricity. Benjamin Franklin technically did, but he's the one that invented AC electricity. Yes, because what's his name? He's working for. I was going to say he was working for Einstein, and they were doing DC electricity. And,
Yeah,
and
Edison.
DC,
Edison had a big fight.
I'm sorry, Edison. Yeah,
Yeah.
Einstein, I'm losing my mind. He was working for Edison, and Edison had bought the patent from DC from him,
Yeah.
and he was using it. So Tesla got mad because he wouldn't give him any money because he was supposed to give him a big chunk of the money after they got it up running. He said no. So Tesla left with AC, sold the patent on AC for like 250,000. Now, people back then that was a lot of money. Okay, in all fairness to him, that would be like $25 million today. It might even be more than that, but still, Tesla ended up broke when he died. Yeah, it's unfortunately he held patents on all kind of stuff that the government just took after he died.
Yeah.
He had tons of patents. He invented a lot of stuff. He invented how to do X-rays. He did all kind of stuff. Certain types of communication come directly from him. It's just he had a really good understanding of how airwaves and electricity worked and how magnetic waves move through the atmosphere. Knew a lot about a lot of things. But sometimes you can't be arrogant while you're doing it. Yes. Elon can because Elon's an arrogant SOB and backs his stuff up every time he turns around. You mean going to Mars? He said he wants to retire on Mars. That's where Elon says he wants to retire on Mars. He said that's his goal is to retire on Mars. So if he stays true to his word, within 5 years, you should start seeing spaceships going back and forth to Mars with nobody on them, by the way. Well, they'll have pilots, but nothing else. They're going to be going back and forth. When he gets 100 of them, 50 going and 50 coming, is when he's going to start colonizing Mars. By then, there'll be a ton of materials there. There'll even be some habitats built, and it'll be ready for colonization. That's his plan. And so far, I haven't seen him do something he's said hasn't worked yet. So let's see where it goes.
He's amazing in his ability to accomplish stuff. But what I wonder about is, he puts all this money and effort, and then the aliens come and say, oh, by the way, we're here. Here's how you make a ship that can go light speed or whatever it is. And poor Elon, SpaceX has put out of business in 5 seconds.
Yeah. Well, he might get the contract, though. You never know. He might get the contract. But, I've always wondered about that because, when we start traveling deep space, matter of fact, when I had Michio Kaku and we were talking about stepping stone theory and how we're going to get into deep space in the first place, because people always tell me when I'm lecturing, especially at colleges, they go, well, Joe, without light speed or this, that, or then there's no way to get around. I said, yeah, this is called a stepping stone. He's like, what do you mean? I said, so look at Earth. I said, pretty soon we're going to have a base on the moon. And then we're going to build a base on platform and zone 11, which is the one that runs down the center of our galaxy, the one that picks up the winds and can actually help the ship go faster. That's zone 11. So we'll put a launching platform there. Then we'll build the base on Mars. Then we'll build a base inside the asteroid belt because we're going to be mining out the yin yang. And guess what? We'll be processing that stuff on Mars so we don't have to bring it back to our planet, which will do 2 things: keep the pollutants from here and help thicken the atmosphere of Mars. So they'll be doing that. Eventually, we'll put something out on one of the moons around Jupiter, Saturn, probably more than one. Then we'll put something out by Io. Then we'll put something in the Oort cloud. When we're to the Oort cloud, we're 1.75 light years from Proxima. And then we'll put one halfway to Proxima, and we'll only be 0.75 light years from Proxima. So if you launch from Earth and you stop on Mars and you spend 6 months there, and then you go out to Jupiter and you spend a couple of months there, and as you go through, it is a 4-year, it's a 3.75 year trip at light speed. But at half light speed, along with your stops, you can be there in 6 years and not have to be on a ship the entire time and not have to have the ship fueled the entire time, not have it full of food, because back and forth along these space stations, stuff will be moving back and forth while these other ships are moving out, going out into deep space. Once you get to Proxima, you set up a base in Proxima, the next solar system, you do the same thing. You step your way to it. Eventually, just with this theory alone, you can explore the entire galaxy in 175,000 years, which, that's a lot of time. Well, no, because we're planning on living for millions and millions of years. And if we get off world, we'll be living for billions of years. So no, that's not even any time to book it. But if you're an alien race who's already done this, that means they're all over the galaxy. They could be anywhere at any time, at any given time. They could be anywhere moving, having technology all the time. And eventually somebody will figure out how to speak faster than the speed of light. See, light speed's not going to be the problem, guys and girls. We already know that you can go faster than the speed of light thanks to light going around Jupiter. We have now seen light being accelerated around Jupiter at 1.5 times the speed of light. So the theory that you can't break light speed no longer it works. Okay, it's like in the old days, they said, "Oh, you can't do Mach 3; it'll kill you." Oh, you can't. First, they said you couldn't go faster than the speed of sound. Of course, we proved that wrong. Then they said, "Oh, you can't go faster than Mach 5, then Mach 10, then Mach 15." Well, the shuttle used to enter between Mach 27 and Mach 32. So obviously that was all total BS is what all that was. It's got a lot of the same things we think about speed of light are going to be the same things.
Well, there's some shortcuts too so as a science fiction writer, being able to travel faster than the speed of light is going to be important when you write these novels. So, and I try to have accurate science. So I researched the hell out of this over the years. And one of the novels I wanted to have an anti-gravity technology that could just, you could sweep a whole army up into the air, or you could crush them like tin cans if you could control gravity. And so I did a lot of research on gravity. And it turns out that, you're familiar with dark matter and dark energy. So dark energy is something scientists have discovered, like, why is the universe, expanding faster than the scientists believe that it was, by much faster than. So there's a repulsive force that they're calling dark energy. And what is a repulsive force? It's basically just anti-gravity. So if you had anti-gravity, you could use it to anchor a wormhole. You could use it to do something called an Albuquerque drive, which is, I may be saying that wrong, but it's kind of a warp bubble where, physics says that you can't move through space faster than light, but space itself can expand faster than light. And so it's like you're surfing the wave of space that's moving faster than light in a bubble. And you can actually stabilize that with with anti-gravity. So, if we can, harness what we're calling dark energy, I mean, so there are actually very scientifically possible ways
Oh yeah.
eventually to have interstellar travel without even worrying about light.
Yeah, there's well, right now we've got other indices. We've got the helium-3, we've got antimatter, we've got dark matter. There's a couple other things besides that we're working on. We have gravity drive system. Matter of fact, we actually already have operational gravity drive systems. That's what drives those TR3Bs. That's what actually drives them things. It's a magnetic gravity drive system.
Right.
It basically is a pull and push, is what it is.
Hmm.
But when it's in deep space, not in the planet, when it's in deep space, it can reach out and grab a planet like Pluto, or like Jupiter, and let Jupiter just pull it towards it. And then as it does, it can reverse its gravity and have Jupiter push it away with all the energy that it just picked up being pulled, which means it'll quadruple its speed. So if it's at light speed, now you're doing light 4, not just light. Well, light speed is just not enough. Even with light speed, Proxima Centauri is still 3.7 years away, or 4.2, depending on where you're going in Proxima. Yeah. So you got to go faster than light. You got to go 4, 5, 6, at least 10 times faster than light speed. But none of that matters, because if you don't have inertial dampeners and a way to see, say, 200-300 light years ahead of you, you're dead, because you're going to run into shit. You got to have a way. Light speed is great, but without a way to see. So if you're traveling, let's say you're traveling 10 times the speed of light. That means you need to be able to see at least 1,000 light years ahead of your craft in all directions, so that you don't run into black holes, that you don't run into suns, that you don't run into planets, that you don't run into asteroids, that you don't run into black matter asteroids, which I think exist now. So these are all things that we've had to be able to see ahead. And you have to have inertial dampers, because the first time you punch light speed, everybody in your craft's going to be splat on the wall behind them. So,
I've been hearing that these UFOs are UAPs that people are seeing, that they may be AI, manned by AIs instead of
they could be
biological organisms, but they're saying that I can't remember what I read, like 40,000 Gs is
easy.
So human beings, so they have some kind of inertial dampener, like you said. They must, unless they're just AI controlled. But even then, how can anything survive that kind of G-force inside? It's just hard to imagine.
It's one of the big arguments about crashing stuff on our planet. So if you've built a ship that doesn't have rivets, that's a one piece, and that can cross a cosmos and take micrometeorite hits and stuff like that, it's not going to break up on the impact. It's going to probably go into the ground. It's probably not going to break up. Now, if you've got something like a shuttle or an escape craft, that probably would break up. But I'm thinking the big craft are not going to break up, or the ones that use the most. But the problem for all of this is when you listen to the Foo Fighters from World War II, it's one of the best UFOs there is, because first off, everybody reported it. The Japanese reported, the Germans reported, the Americans reported, the Brits reported, the French reported it, the Italians reported, the Russians reported, even the Chinese reported seeing these things. So these were not friends to anybody. They weren't helping anybody out, and they would do things that just simply can't be replicated. So, you'll hear a bomber pilot, and I've actually talked to a couple of them over the years. They'd say it would come over, would glow in green, and would just sit like above the canopy, and then it would start doing loops around the plane. Now, this plane's doing probably about 280 miles an hour, give or take a couple of miles an hour. And this thing's just looping around, then it would stop and just dart out till you couldn't see it in a matter of milliseconds. One of the pilots said you couldn't even go 0-1, you'd go 1,000, and he'd go Mississippi. He couldn't even get to 1. The thing was out of sight. Well, that's traveling at speeds that's unbelievably fast. Right. So even though we have technology today that could probably do the loop around the craft, and drones technology, we don't have anything that can travel like that or that size. So these weren't like little drones like this. These were big craft. We don't have anything like that could loop around a ship without causing an accident or a wreck. Even our drones, our big drones, don't have that kind of technology yet. We're just not there. Even though we can fly drones in big numbers now, and we can make them look like dragons in the sky and Santa Claus and all kind of fancy stuff. Right. This isn't the same thing as what's being described by these pilots. One of the pilots was describing this thing was about twice the size of his craft. When it took off, he said it almost caused it to jet, because he got caught in the backwash or whatever it was. And what it was the wind. When the thing took off, it created a suction. At first, it was like he said, it was like a wave of air hit the craft, and then it started pulling the craft forward. And he said he was actually accelerating speed, but it made his engines, it flushed so much air through the scoop that it killed his engine. It just flushed it out. And so he was trying to, he was hoping not to eject, because sometimes you can, if you're going fast enough down, you can get the turbine turning. It's like pushing your car and jump starting it, in old days where it's clutch. It's kind of the same thing. And sometimes you can do that, and sometimes you can't. Sometimes a flame out is a flame out, and you're just going to hit the ground if you don't get out of the jet. And I mean, believe it or not, these pilots will go almost to the ground sometimes trying to save this plane. And even though, they're being told the whole time, jump, get out the plane, but they're hard headed. They want to stand. I watched one guy. He went over he missed the line on the carrier, and he caught the second hook. The hook caught the second line, but when it did, it twisted the plane, and the plane jumped up in the air and lifted off the carrier, so it was headed off the front of the carrier. And I'm thinking, dude, eject. There's no way you're going to save this plane, because it was already headed to the front. You seen the plane go over, then you seen him come up. He parachuted and he landed on the deck. That's how close he came to losing his life. And because he waited so long. And we've seen people get plowed over by carriers before and get killed. But so, I mean, sometimes there's nothing you can do. One guy just came in hot and he tried to get it, but by the time he got ready to do it, he was skidding and he just went off, and the carrier just like it wasn't even there. You don't even see parts or nothing in the back. I mean, it just mows it over like it's nothing. Dude, the props on these carriers are big as my house. Yeah, they're huge. But I know we got to get out of here, because we're going to do 5 minutes and then we're going to go. Anything you want to tell anybody before we leave and head on down the road?
No, not really. Just if you have any interest,
tell them where they can find you again. Be sure to tell them where they can find you.
I have a website, www.douglaserichards.com. On Amazon, just look up Douglas E. Richards, or Google me just in general. I love hearing from readers. So if you read a novel and you want to write me, I have my email pasted everywhere, on Amazon, on my bio, everywhere. So I always respond to people who email me. Got a Facebook page, Douglas E. Richards Author. And so friend requests me on that. I've got a Twitter at Richards Author, which I have to admit I need to use more. I'm not really a power user of any of these things. I'm trying to get with the program here. Other than that, if you ever read anything, shoot me a note, an email, and let me know what you think. Unless you hate it, of course, then keep that to yourself.
Then keep it to yourself. Well, hold on before we go. For the 25th person who hits my email, I@cox.net, we're going to give this one away. This is How to Write a Howling Good Story by Wolf Moon.
Okay.
So write to me. If you're the 25th writer, you'll get a copy of it. It's one of the few ones. We give away a lot of stuff during the holidays. Well, I'll have to get Douglas to send me something. But during the holidays, we give. Oh, and by the way, go buy some books, people. It's holidays. Go get some of his books. He's got good sci-fi books. I know a lot of y'all are sci-fi fans listening to this show, because I know y'all come from other shows. Go get some books, sci-fi books. What's that, Jessica? ICAR@cox.net. Number 25, this is your book right here. It's the last one I have of that one, because everything else you see up there is autographed for me personally. So I'm sorry, guys. I don't give away autographed books. No, I'm trying to redo my collection. Y'all forget I lost almost 4,000 books for Katrina. I'm back to about 1,500. Yeah, we had a big, huge Linden library. We had all kind of stuff in it: UFO stuff, paranormal stuff, just everyday weird stuff, a lot of science stuff, a lot of science fiction stuff. We just used to let people come in and, you see them little libraries in front of people's homes and all, where they have a couple of books. Well, we just had a big one with 4,000 basically, and people could come in and get them. But Katrina didn't get them all wet. My house only got this much water in it, but we were gone for 3 days. And somehow all the books absorbed the water and swole up. They swole up so bad that they popped the sides off the shelves.
Wow.
And it was a sad day. Every one of those books autographed, every one of them. Even the one I had that was from, it was a spell book from 1482. It's a little red book about this thing about this big. It was even autographed by the author. Well, no, I wasn't alive then. How could he autograph me, doofus? If it had my name in, I would have really freaked out. It's no, we still have it, but it's not. You can't really use it anymore. Yeah, and they had all kind of wicked witch spells in there for making people be good and giving you money and stuff. Um, you know where I found it? In a local library of all places. Yes, in a local library. Wasn't even looking for that. It was just in the wrong place. I figured, oh, it must be meant to be. Yeah, I was looking for something else. Believe it, guys. In the old days, I used to use a library a lot. It was I used it for the internet sometimes. They used to, instead of going to like Blockbuster to get movies, you could rent them from the library for way cheaper. You still can actually. They still do all that stuff. Yeah, they have all kind of interesting stuff at the libraries. Yes, they do. And if you don't have a computer, it's a good place to go hang out and use a computer. Yes, well, we're talking a long time ago. I'm an old guy, so but they still do all that stuff today. I got to hang out in some really cool libraries, like the Tulane University one. It's a customized library. It's very cool. There used to be one right here on the Gulf Coast before Katrina came that just expanded. It was about a half-mile long, right sitting on the beach. Beautiful place. All kind of maps from going back like 300 years and stuff. Yeah, all kind of interesting stuff. But we got to go. I got to go. I'm starving to start off with Douglas E. Richards. Be sure to go check him out. His books sound marvelous. John rarely ever gives anybody a plus on a book. So he always says, oh, yeah, yeah. He rarely comes out and says he actually likes a book. Well, John reads a buttload of stuff, probably 3 or 4 books a week. Mm-hmm. Yes. He's the president of Galaxy Press. If you want to be part of Writers of the Future, writersofthefuture.com. Check it out. You can even take a free writing course there if you want to. It'll help you learn how to write. You mean me personally? I wrote 60,000 words and then I hit delete on my computer. I'm not a writer. I might one day because I got to do some stuff for the iCore organization. We need to put out a couple of things, and people have been asking me to put out that thing that happened to me in Gulf Breeze a long time. Maybe one day I'll sit down with a real writer and see about having a ghostwritten or something. But I don't. Even though, don't get me wrong, I have learned a lot hanging out with Writers of the Future on how to write a book. I actually understand it now and the concept and how things should work. But I don't know. I'm not a good story filler inner kind of person, even though I understand what the background means. And I just, I'm not like, oh, it was Joe. He was walking down the street and it was sunshiny and the sand was glistening. I'm just not good at that kind of stuff. I'm just, I know it's got to be in the book, but I want to use facts and that's it. So that's like a documentary. That's not a novel. But anyway, Doug, it was great having you on tonight. It's great talking to you. And remember, during the holidays, if you want to come on and give some of your books away, just drop me a line in. We're going to be doing it all season long. We give them away on this show. We give them away on News and the Flip Side. News and the Flip Side is not for the lighthearted. I hate to call it a news program. It was an election program for the last year because, we was going through election year. And we have predicted the last 5 presidential elections right on the money, including the House and the Senate. But the show itself is much different. Last night we had John on doing the Christmas parade, and then we were just discussing mostly world affairs. What's going on here, what's going on there. Sometimes we get into like a couple of weeks ago, we did a really hard hitting show the first hour, and then the last 2 hours were just what's your favorite way to cook a steak? You just never know where it's going to go. It's but I warn people because sometimes there are some hardcore politics, just not right now because we're pretty much done with the election now. So.
Right.
And for all my friends who are crying, whichever way you're crying, I don't really care. I feel for all y'all. Remember, it's the Christmas holidays. Don't be mean to your family. Okay, just let it go. There'll be another election in 4 years. There'll be another election in 2 years. There'll be another in 4. So if you're not happy, get out and vote. If you're happy, well, be happy. I don't know what to tell y'all. I'm just a centrist. So like I said, and y'all have heard me say many times, I'm an equal opportunity hater. On that note, Doug, again, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Guys and girls, we got to get out of here. We went over an hour. I want to thank everyone for tuning into United Public Radio and the Authors Quill. Of course, any moans, groans, bitches, complaints, or anything else for that matter, you write to Michelle DeRoche, courtesy of MichelleDeRoche.com. Because she's the manager. She's the boss. I'm the owner. She's the boss. I tell y'all all the time, she's the boss. Yes, that's why I have her there, so I don't have to deal with all this stuff. On that note, again, thank you again for tuning in tonight, and I will see y'all. Well, I'll be back Monday with Science and Beyond, so I'll see y'all then. Good night, everybody.
Hey, thanks, Joe. Bye.